said that the people are revolting.
You said it. They stink on us.
Perversion is sick. It's degenerate and sick.
Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him,
Not good. Believe me, not good.
What's up, everybody? Welcome, dissidents, one and all. This is the DueDissidence podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular, all the way from Goa in the beautiful country of India. Hey, Russell.
Hello.
The last day, right? You leave tomorrow. Now, for us, most people who are watching this are still on tonight, but you're actually doing this early in the morning where you are.
It is Monday morning where I am right now.
Indeed.
It is 6:08 Monday morning.
The work week has begun. I see some new people in the chat here. Thank you guys for joining. Please hit that subscribe button if you're here. Don't wait to see if you like the show. You're going to like the show. In worst case, if you don't like the show, just unsubscribe. You won't be the first person this week to have unsubscribed. Don't worry, you will not hurt our feelings. Hit a few of the Marianne stands a little too hard, I guess. But that's okay.
Yeah. It's funny when we drop a video like that and you get unsubscribes. It's like, what party do you think you stumbled into here? What were you expecting from us? What part of we no longer believe in an inside strategy did you not understand in our last 10 episodes?
Or last 100.
Last 100. Like, did you think we're going? Oh, finally, Marianne Williamson. Like, what did you think we were going to have to say about that? It's always, once in a while we'll comment on things that there's no way to necessarily infer what we think about it from the rest of the show. But that's a no-brainer. It's pretty obvious what we would think about that.
That's basically the premise at this point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We've got it's yes, Jimmy Dore was right. When I remember, because he started as soon as Sanders endorsed Clinton in 2016, Dore started singing that song that he's talking people into the Democratic Party. And I was certainly one who was very emotionally attached to Sanders at that time. And I'm a reasonable madman. I won't just knee-jerk react to something, even if I don't like it. So I said at the time, look, he could be right. But I don't feel that I can walk away until I've left it all on the field. So we're going to have to try to do what the Republicans did after Goldwater. We have to try to get our own people into lower level offices and build our bench and build our power that way. And that's how I wound up out on the street campaigning for AOC in 2018. It was on that logic. And that's why I say, I think what the squad has done in office has done more to disillusion the Sanders left than the Sanders campaigns themselves. Because, hey, it's the presidency, man. That's the big prize. What did it take them 16 years to get to Reagan after the Goldwater loss? But when you get your own people in there and they just suck up to Nancy Pelosi, okay, so now how do you argue against Dore's basic premise that you're just sheepdogging people into the Democratic Party with this shit?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, look, whenever you have a subscriber growth, you're going to have some growing pains. It's fine. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So anyway, the point being, if it's your first time here, subscribe, take a chance. If you don't like us and you want to leave us, that's fine too. But take a chance, hit that subscribe button, please. Garble, I don't think I've seen you here before, Garble. I'm glad I didn't let the low subscriber count scare me off from this channel. Well, thanks for that. I guess we'll take that as a compliment. You guys are Virgin Mary toast by the loaf. Well, thank you, Garble. Appreciate that. Thank you, Abiding71.
That there's one of those backhanded compliments.
Yeah, one of them backhanded compliments, but that's okay. We'll take it. Thank you for the super sticker, my friend. Tip jar is out, folks. The more donations we get in, the more patrons we get signed up at patreon.com or at Substack, DueDissidence.substack.com. The more often we can do these shows. We did an impromptu live stream yesterday covering the Marianne launch. Yeah.
The more spectacular shirts like this I can afford to buy.
Yes, exactly. The more shirts like that, the more of a wardrobe budget we'll have for the show.
Yes, yes.
Zach says Russell's broadcasting live from a shower in Hyderabad. It does look like a bit of a shower curtain behind you. It kind of does. He's kind of right.
I'm staying in a very lovely guest house, actually. There's a balcony off to my right. It's kind of like placed right in the jungle. Right now I can hear all of the exotic birds going. What's really funny is there's a hostel owner down the road who really loves, apparently, Peaky Blinders and Breaking Bad. So on side of the road, he hostel, and on the other side, he has a Breaking Bad themed hostel. So on one side, you've got all that, Edwardian decor. And on the other, you've got paintings of Heisenberg and the Heisenberg beer garden.
Well, sorry. I was laughing somewhat at that, but I'm also laughing at this. Super chat from Andrew. Thank you for the $5. Did you both see the Marianne interview on Crystal and Kyle where she talked about getting 42% of the vote, then demanding concessions?
Did she really?
I didn't see that. No, I haven't watched the Crystal and Kyle interview. Look, we're going to do a quick headline segment on Marianne tonight, and then that's really all we have to say about it. We were joking because sometimes Russell will run Crystal and Kyle jokes by me, and he'll say, like, this is too extreme to say on the air, right? And then he'll tell me the joke, and I'll say, yeah, that's too extreme to say on the air. But then I pitched to him, because I knew this interview was out, we might do a Mystery Science Theater on that interview and then do it as a Patreon and Substack exclusive as a way to get you guys to join, to lure you in. Also as a way where Russell can show off his real sense of humor. I mean, if you think this is rough, if you think what we say on here is bad, the Patreon and the Substack feeds are not on YouTube. There's not censorship there. Well, on Patreon there technically is, but it's not as bad as here because you have people overseeing the rules, so you can appeal and negotiate. Substack is totally free speech, so we can say whatever the hell we want there. So we might cover that on there, but I have not even watched it yet. But that's quite funny. That says what we said. That says what our first segment is going to, or our first headline of the night is going to be, which is no dirty break, right? If she's already talking about extracting concessions, then this whole talk of dirty break is nonsense, as we knew.
Yeah, she's going to extract concessions. If you ever saw my live drunk from New Orleans video, which was only for patrons, you have an idea of what you're going to be in for there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea, I mean, Sanders didn't even extract concessions or even really attempt to. She's going to extract concessions. Come on.
Yeah, no, it's just absurd. It's just absurd. Chat is moving very, very fast tonight. We love all of our chat. Thank you so much. The super chats are the ones that are flagged here. So, I hate to be that kind of guy, but the only way to guarantee a chat gets read tonight is to put $1 on it because the chat's moving really fast. I can only really even keep track of the super chats because they're bright colored. But our patron, one of our patron supporters, one of our OG patron supporters from way back in the day when this was just an audio podcast and we were live streaming on Facebook, James Vanderzanden, he's in the chat. He's in the studio here. James, if you ever want to say hello, feel free to turn your mic on and I'll admit you. But he sent us a few chat messages. He said, Russell needs more Hawaiian-style shirts. Thanks for taking my Vanguard money and doing something productive. Yeah, Vanderzanden is he's a patron for both DueDissidence and the Vanguard. So he's spreading the love. Thank you, James, for your support. James has been supporting us since we started, since 2019, I believe. One of the OG Dissident fans. Cool Blue, thank you for the $9.99, my friend. I consider party coalitions realigning. Money people realigning to the D's, non-money people, workers to the R's. Numerous 2016 Sanders people staying in the two-party system will realign to the R's. Well, I think many of them already have. I think that 12% of Bernie voters who switched from Bernie to Trump in 2016, I think they're already accounted for. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much for the donation. All righty, guys. So we have a great show this evening. We have Bernie Sanders punting on the Russia-Ukraine war issue. We have, as we teased yesterday, the epic Russell Brand versus John Heilemann smackdown on Bill Maher. And then we also have some great footage from the Worker Strike Back launch, which happened yesterday in cities around the country. Before that, though, we do have, a few quick headlines. And the first has to do with Marianne Williamson, which is right where we left off. Before we do that, though, let me just take this super chat here so we don't lose it. Dave Delarai, did you see Steven Donziger tweeting a pic of him and his good friend Marianne? He says she'll be able to get things done in the Dem party. What? Yeah, I did see that picture. Yo, I got to tell you, Steven Donziger is a piece of ass. That guy is a handsome motherfucker. That guy, he's tall, he's chiseled, he's shapely, he's got that silver fox thing going. Yo, that is one hot man, I have to say, as someone, as George Costanza would say, I say that with an unblemished record of staunch heterosexuality. He is an attractive man, that man. That's really all I took from that, honestly.
We have a lot. The impression I get from the comments, Keaton, is at least half our subscribers are gay men who want to sleep with you. So shh on the heterosexuality.
Oh, keep that under wraps there. I'll see if I can find that.
Keep it vague.
I'll see if I can find that picture. You'll all see what I'm talking about.
Didn't we have a meeting about queer baiting?
Yeah, I don't want to use that. Don't want to use that too much. Here, can I find it? Yeah, I'm gonna put that up on the screen right now so you can all see what I'm talking about. All right, because listen. Steven Donziger, he's a hero. Maybe he has a soft spot for Marianne. Look at that guy. Tell me that is not a handsome man. Tell me that is not a good-looking man. Russell?
He looks a little like a
broad
banana.
Shoulders, big-chested, tall.
I don't know, man. He looks a little unreal, a little like a Pixar interpretation of.
You have no taste. See now, you're just being mean because that's your reputation.
No. Who do I have a reputation with being mean for?
Oh yeah, right. Where'd you get that from?
I don't have that reputation.
Since when? Since when am I mean?
Look, man, I've been here for a month. They call me Vishnu returned. So there.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, seriously, Dave, since you did give us $10 for it. Yeah, look, I think he's friends with her. Even he stopped short of an endorsement. He said, good on her, right? That was the text of the tweet. He didn't say, I formally endorse Marianne Williamson for president. So I don't even think he went that far. But, yeah, look, he's friends. He's got a soft spot for, whatever. I can't get angry at a man who looks like that. I just can't. I'm sorry. I'm blinded. Blinded by love. Taya, thank you for the $10, Taya. Thank you so much. Taya's going to come on probably on Thursday to talk about the Twitter files, either Thursday or Sunday. I forgot which day I told you, Taya. Remind me what I told you. I forget. But new Twitter files drop happened last week, and that's Taya's forte. She writes about them, and she does broadcasts about them, so that'll be fun.
Oh, okay.
Look forward to that. Yeah, that'll be fun. Russell will be back in New York. We'll have certainty with regard to the scheduling and everything. It'll be great. All right, let's get rolling with these headlines here. Marianne Williamson launched her presidential campaign yesterday, Saturday, March 4th. The media gave her some interviews on the heels of that announcement, which is honestly a little bit more than I thought they were going to do. But part of why some in the sort of progressive media space were excited about Marianne is because of the interview she gave to the Vanguard boys, in which she said that she would take a similar tack that Donald Trump took at the beginning of the 2016 primaries, when he was asked the question, will you fall in line and support the Republican nominee in the fall, even if it's not you? And he famously said, well, it depends on how you treat me. And a lot of people in progressive media, I shouldn't say a lot, Vanguard guys, Breonna Joy Gray, they took that to mean that she was committing to a dirty break, meaning she would not endorse the Democrat in the fall because they think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to try to cheat her in some way. And of course, we are of the opinion that they won't, not because they wouldn't if they had to, but because they won't have to, right? So anyway, we kept saying, a lot of voices of reason kept saying, she never committed to a dirty break. This is nonsense. You're just wish casting this. You're just saying it because you want it to be true. She is not doing a dirty break. We guarantee it. Here she is on MSNBC when asked, predictably, this very question. What is the first question you think these stooges are going to ask her, right? Like, that's what they asked Bernie when he was winning. When Bernie Sanders was winning, they asked him if he was going to endorse the nominee when he lost. So they come at her pretty quickly with this question.
It would be nice if they could just be honest. Like, okay, so Bernie, we have it on good authority that under no circumstances will the machinery of the DNC allow you to be the nominee, no matter how many people vote for you.
Right.
So what are you going to do when they rig the process against you?
It looks good for you now, but they're going to screw you. What will you do when they
What will you do when they do?
Exactly.
Are you going to be a good sport?
Exactly. She's asked this question here on MSNBC. Let's hear her answer. Dirty break or no dirty break?
Against a sitting president,
yes,
which is a daunting task. Yeah. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are thinking, what's she going to do if she's not successful? Will you support the Democratic nominee? Will you support the party if you are not the nominee?
I'm going to do everything possible as a patriotic American to make sure that the neo-fascist authoritarian threat that is very real in our country and is very entrenched at this point within the Republican Party does not win the White House in 2024. That's why I'm running.
Okay, there's your answer. No dirty break. I'm going to do my patriotic duty and do everything I can to make sure that the neo-fascist authoritarian Republican Party does not win in November. That means she is going to fall in line. You do not refer to the Republican Party as a neo-fascist authoritarian party and then run as a third-party spoiler candidate. You do not do that. She will not do that. Case closed at this point. Can the Vanguard guys please correct the record? Can Brianna Joy Gray please make clear to their audience so that they don't lead them down this rabbit hole for the next year? Can we everybody just cut the nonsense? Of course, there is no dirty break. There was never going to be
from Marianne Williamson.
From Marianne Williamson.
Of all people. Let me translate what she just said. I'm not going to do anything that is going to piss off my social set to such a degree that I stop getting invited to parties. I call it the Sarandon strategy. I ask myself before I do something, is this going to get me put in the Sarandon category in the minds of my wealthy friends? And if the answer is yes, I'm not going to do it. So that should answer your question, Jonathan.
Yes. And about this whole neo-fascist authoritarian Republican Party, because that's what they always use, right? They always say, well, we can't do a dirty break because of the authoritarian neo-fascist Republican Party. I'm sorry. Your president just blew up a pipeline that provides natural gas to our ally. Your president is an international terrorist. Okay, so I don't want to hear you fucking weaklings get all triggered about, the neo-fascist authoritarian. First of all, that's just a signal that you're going to fall in line. Whenever people start talking like that, that's just a signal that they will fall in line behind the D team. That's all that means. Right. And of course, given everything that's going on in the world right now, I have no patience for people who are so triggered by that in that way.
Well, not only that, when you look at the two parties, when you look at their voters specifically, the ones who, and polling has shown this, the ones who least believe in democracy are actually your side. It's actually the Democrats, and this is why. The Democrats have so many views and so many cultural stances that are deeply unpopular. They know that they can only win through anti-democratic means unless you have a plague. Hence, they're deeply suspicious of democracy. Whenever you confront them on these stances, what do they say? Well, desegregation was unpopular once, right? So inherent in that comment is you don't really trust voters. You don't really trust people to make decisions. You're giving away the game right there. You're saying you believe that the country is made up of ignorant bigots who need to be forced to do the right thing by the government. So don't talk to me about fascism. What you believe in, what you really believe in, is a kind of left-wing totalitarianism. That is really what you believe in. You want a government that shares your cultural views. Most people who hold these views don't really care about economics. As you've often said, they don't have problems government can solve. They don't really care about that.
Yeah, so it's more a liberal totalitarianism, not to split here.
I don't mean it's a liberal totalitarianism. They want a government that can impose their social views on the population, and they're really not all. Who's for censorship? Who are the people who keep leaning on tech platforms to censor? So they're the fascists? I mean, maybe they are, but you're totalitarians. So
right, yeah, exactly.
It's not like you're great believers in the democratic process. You invoke the name of democracy the way the Roman emperors talked about the republic. It's branding. It's not a reality for you.
All right, this next headline here is something that you might originally mistake for the funny, because we do a Sunday funny. We pull a piece of satire up every Sunday. And you might think we're going out of order here, but I assure you we are not. This is a totally real headline. This is an op-ed written for the New York Times by disgraced former DNC chair turned, I guess, whistleblower of sorts, Donna Brazile, writing this about Kamala Harris. Oh, let me turn off the audio here in case there's an ad. The excellence of Kamala Harris is hiding in plain sight. Once again, folks, an actual op-ed. This is not the satire.
Okay, it's the funny. All right.
No, this is real by Donna Brazile.
You got us. Yeah.
I'm not going to read this whole thing, obviously. Talk about getting our sub count. Talk about killing the sub count, right?
Vice President, the live viewership.
Yeah, right, at least the live viewership. Vice President Kamala Harris occupies an office that can be the butt of jokes and criticism. The only duties of the vice president spelled out in the Constitution are to cast tie-breaking votes in the Senate and to become president if the office becomes vacant. I've never run for government office, but as a black woman who has spent my life working in politics, including as manager of Vice President Al Gore's unsuccessful presidential campaign in 2000, I know what it's like to be underestimated, over-scrutinized, and unfairly criticized, just as Miss Harris had been, yet I've never been under such a glaring spotlight as hers. All right, so we're going to skip down to the two meatiest things here. We should think about our expectations for the vice presidency. It was only starting with the presidency of Jimmy Carter and the role Vice President Walter Mondale played in foreign and domestic policy that the job became more than a ceremonial position. Vice President Harris ranks third in breaking Senate ties and first in the 2 years in office. Okay, so she ranks third overall and first over the first 2 years in breaking Senate ties. That is a function of the 50-50 Senate. That has nothing to do with her merits as a vice president, and all that
it's
means...
not even her decision. They deploy her to do her job.
Yes, exactly. Now, while some claim that her duties breaking ties in the Senate have limited her scope of influence, I don't think anybody's argued that at all. Nobody's argument. It's just a technical thing. If it's 50-50, she has to cast the tie-breaking vote. That doesn't interfere with her other duties. It's not like she mulls over these votes. These are party line votes that are split 50-50. The reality is that Ms. Harris regularly traveled the country to meet with Americans, even as she cast a tie-breaking vote on key legislation to better the lives of American people. So what she's saying there is she's very good at boarding and unboarding airplanes because she travels the country and then flies back to Washington to vote and then travels the country more. So she packs well, she packs light, she only packs what she needs so she can get from point A to point B in enough time to get the votes cast and meet with people who she's, due to meet with. I guess that's probably a point in her column. I don't imagine Dick Cheney got around as quickly as she did, so I guess she's better than Dick Cheney in that way. All right, we'll give her that. Fair enough, Donna Brazile.
Winning me over. I can tell you, as somebody who's been doing a lot of traveling, getting together all your toiletries in a way that clears the TSA, not easy.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. She buys those, individual, toothpaste tubes, the travel size. She doesn't buy the full size that she's going to have to, go on with an open container that's above a certain ounce limit. She knows what the ounce limits are. The toothpaste, and the hand soap and the hand sanitizer, all that. No,
you need a strategic
Fair
mind
enough.
for that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Winning me over here, I guess. Maybe we were wrong to make fun of this. To advance President,
do I want the mosquito spray or do I want the body wash?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. If you could only take one. To advance President Biden's objective to strengthen America's foreign alliances, Ms. Harris has met, mostly in person, with more than 100 world leaders to repair damage to our international relationships caused by Donald Trump. Let me read that once more. To repair damage to our international relationships caused by Donald Trump. She is not the first or the last liberal to get it in their head that the world is more stable now than it was under Donald Trump. Like, what world are you living in? What are you talking about? As if order has been restored to the world now that level-headed Joe Biden is in there. Just completely at odds with reality.
Yeah, I don't remember being on the verge of World War III when Donald Trump was the president. In fact, he was the first president in several decades not to get us into any new wars, or as we like to call them, actions or training exercises or any of the rest of those things. So to argue that we're restoring our relations under Joe Biden
and Kamala, don't forget,
is just insane.
Well, here it gets even richer. At the Munich Security Conference in February, she announced that the Biden administration has formally concluded that Russia is guilty of crimes against humanity in its war against Ukraine and warns China not to assist Russia in its invasion. I believe she was at the previous Munich Security Conference last year. Do you know what she did at that Munich Security Conference? She encouraged Zelensky to try and join NATO. That's part of what got this whole ball rolling. So the idea, at this year's security conference, she got up and very slowly, in that very tortured speech, accused, because she's trying to look really serious and presidential now because she wants to be a plausible alternative to Biden. They're guilty of crimes against humanity. Of course, the previous year she helped set this whole thing in motion. All right, that's everything. We don't have to read anymore. You guys get the point. Donna, Brazile,
it's like Forrest Gump. Every time global affairs take a negative turn, you can find Kamala Harris in a photo in the background somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So I've got questions. Okay, Donna Brazile did something that you can never earn your way back into the good graces of her former employers. After having done, she revealed without question that the DNC rigged the primaries against Bernie Sanders. That is napalming your bridges behind you. Okay, you're not burning them, you're napalming them. Like, that's it. You cannot. It doesn't matter what you do. They're never letting you back on the inside of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, so and just to remind the audience of what you're talking about, because some people might have forgotten about that, because I honestly forgot about that until fairly recently. She wrote a book, several chapters of which were devoted to her inside knowledge of the DNC stacking the deck against Bernie. And she actually reached out to Bernie afterwards and offered to look into it for him. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
That's why you see her on Fox now. Because she's not welcome anymore on places like MSNBC, which
or CNN, where she was,
so much more unbiased than Fox, but they won't let on a dissenter, right? They won't let her on for giving away the family secrets, right? She spoke against the family. That's a non-starter. So strategically, I don't understand what she's doing here, and if this is simply an identity politics play. I would remind Donna Brazile that Kamala Harris is actually not the first person of color to hold that office. The first person of color to hold that office was Charles Curtis under Herbert Hoover, who himself was Native American. He was a member of the Kaw tribe, for which Kansas is named. He was best known for helping to destroy the land rights of the Native Americans at that time and forcing on them assimilationist policies that were a absolute horror for their communities. Kamala Harris has a lot in common with Charles Curtis. You blithely in that article mention her record as Attorney General, but you don't mention what she did with that position, locking up yet more African Americans on BS marijuana charges, fighting to keep somebody who all of the available evidence strongly suggested was innocent in jail. Fighting, look, she announces her pronouns, right? But that didn't stop her from fighting against gender reassignment surgery for trans prisoners. So even by liberal standards, she was a nightmare as Attorney General. Look, this is what she is the exemplar of what Cornel West calls black faces in high places. She has been nothing but destructive to the African American community, and that's exactly why the power establishment has pushed her this far, because they need to hide behind somebody like that to institute those kinds of policies without getting called out on it. She is a tool for that system. That's what she's always been. And no, it is not anti-woman and anti-black woman that people don't like her. She is creepy as fuck. She is an extremely off-putting politician. She is so untalented that if it's racism, why in South Carolina was she polling somewhere around Mayo Pete's numbers? In fact, I think she might have been doing a little worse than him in South Carolina at one point. You know, you're talking about somebody who does not have a record, which when I talk to African American women I've talked to, I haven't spoken to one that likes Kamala Harris because of her record, because they are aware of her record, right? You know, it's one of those things that, yes, in order to advance the cause of more African American women in positions like that, a lot of people don't want to criticize her publicly. A lot of people from that community don't want to criticize her publicly in order to not make it harder for the next person, and I understand that. But to go out of your way to write an entire article suggesting that Kamala Harris is an overlooked political talent who's done great things for her community. I mean, what? I don't understand what made her write this, because I don't read Donna Brazile as stupid. And again, there's no political angle because she's never getting back in with the Democratic elites.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no angle for her. There's no way for her to get back, you know, to get any invites back to those parties. I guess propping up Kamala as an indirect way of propping up Biden may be a political strategy there, right? The more plausible Kamala is as the, you know, whatever, designated survivor type, if you will, the less reservation people might have for voting for Biden. Who knows? All right, let's take some super chats.
Yeah, but what's in that for Brazile? You know, she's become a token liberal for Fox News now. You know, I mean, that's really the only career path for you when you burn those people the way that she did.
Yeah, no, I agree. Absolutely. Hit that like button, check, hit that subscribe button. We got a big crowd in here. I know not all of you guys are subscribed. We need to beef our subscriber counts, okay? We lost some subscriptions this week. We offended the Marianne stands who were lurking among us. We need to get these subs back. So if you like the show, hit the subscribe button.
We're talking about like 6 jackoffs who didn't understand.
I'm joking. I'm using humor.
Well, I'm just being clear to the audience. It's not like we had like a sub apocalypse.
Yeah, no, and we're obviously not devastated about it, as they can see.
Yeah.
but if you can hit the subscribe button, it helps. So please do.
I mean, we're such psychos that we could lose half our subscribers, but if we felt good about what we had done to cause it, we'd laugh it off.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Make it back. Long story short, Marianne isn't bad for a 70-year-old. Thank you for the $2. I'm not really going to comment. I only make homoerotic jokes so that, I can get a laugh at you guys.
I mean, look, in LA, they have, drive-through plastic surgery. That is not what that woman looks. That's not what nature gave her.
Speculation. I don't know that. Chris Bishop, $5. The Kamala piece is such a reach. I couldn't even touch it, and I'm 6'5". Yes, that was quite a reach. Absolutely. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Zach, thanks for the $1.99. Democratic Pfizer Party of Totalitarian Censorship. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some nicknames for the Democratic Party headed into the 2024 election. That's not a bad one. We'll table that.
That's
Thank you.
One. That's a good one.
Ellen Jimerson. What's up, Ellen? Thank you for the donation. Russell, I never thought I'd hear anyone comment on Charles Curtis and put him into contact with Kamala Harris. That's why I love you. Well, we love you too, Ellen.
Thank you, Ellen. You know what? I love you so much that I'm actually going to post this just for you. I'm going to tag you in my Facebook post. I went to Old Goa today because, the Portuguese were the last ones to take the hint and get the fuck out of this country. So they were here until the mid-'60s. So their whole ecclesiastical center of administration with like six churches going back to like the 16th, some of them back to the 16th century. I went and visited those today, including the remains of Francis Xavier, which are on display in the Bomb Jesus Church. So I'm gonna post those pictures for you. I literally took those pictures for you.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. See? Excellent. That's awesome. Christian, thanks for the $10. You guys need to respect Kamala more. When she told immigrants not to come, she did it with such authority that I haven't came since 2021. My doctor says it's girl boss syndrome. Well, she had a lot of practice on that do not come line. She used to use that on Willie Brown quite a few times. So she had a lot of practice delivering the do not come line. It wasn't the first. That's why she said it so well. She had a lot of rehearsal with that.
She didn't want any of those Willie babies.
Yeah, exactly. Who's worse, Kamala or Pete? Oh, man. We're supposed to answer that for a measly $2?
Wow.
That's a half-hour segment. Thank you, Cool Blue, though. Kamala or Pete?
Wow.
I mean, I think I would have to I'd have to say that's a wash. Because neither of them have any chance of climbing any sort of, like, political ladder. They're two mercy hires. I won't say they're diversity hires, but they're mercy hires. They are good. You have a good boy and a good girl who serve the party, and so they gave them the best position they could. They're not capable of going any further because they're never going to get a majority of any voting bloc to actually vote for them. And so I think it is a wash in that respect. Sorry to chicken out on that, but that's my honest opinion. I couldn't honestly say who's worse.
This is what I'm going to say. You got to go beyond like who's metaphysically worse, because that is a wash. I guess if I had to put one in office, I would pick Kamala because she's even less competent than Pete. The way that all of her staffs self-destruct was something that Donna also doesn't mention in her article, the way that everybody who works for her winds up, needing therapy. I guess I would go with Kamala because she'd probably get even less done than Pete, although it's kind of hard to make that argument because look what he's doing as transportation secretary. Like, he has all that McKinsey training, but it doesn't seem to have done anything for him. Or, he's just, it seems like maybe he's just too sociopathic to focus on the job. Sociopaths, they talk a good game, but then their behavior is very bizarre because it's hard to navigate the world lacking emotion. But I read Kamala that way too. Like, that's how I explain her creepy laugh. Like, I think it's a sociopath trying to act like a human. You know what? Yeah, wash on every level.
It's a wash. It's a tie.
You broke my brain with that question.
It's a tie. Yeah, too early in the show for that question. We still have a lot of material to do. But thank you.
I am now the computer in a Kirk versus the computer scene.
Exactly.
My logic. My head is going to start smoking thinking about this.
Show's running long because you guys keep showering us with donations, but thank you. We'll stay on here all night if we got to. Ellen, thank you for the $2. Oh, Russell, I'm verklempt. Spelling? I think that is how you spell verklempt. I think that looks right to me. Looks right to me.
Does anyone actually know? I think everyone attempts to spell that, just wings it.
That looks good to me. Thank you, Ellen.
Is there an official spelling?
Leda Gray. Oh yeah, sure there is. Absolutely. Leda Gray, $2. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate that. Kinky, thank you for the $5. Kamala was hired so that no one would pull one on Joe. Yeah, well, I mean, look, that's what I said. Like, it made perfect sense to have Harris because if you had a competent vice president, the party would probably be pushing Joe out the door. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they'd whack him, but they would say, okay, fine, you obviously can't do this. Let Abrams take over, whoever. The fact that no one has confidence in her ability to win a race is what's keeping Joe Biden in the game. Absolutely.
Yeah, picking her doesn't look as stupid now as it did at the time, all things considered. I mean, for him. In terms of his self-interest.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, let's rag on the Republicans a little bit here before we get into the funny and the main segments. Donald Trump spoke at CPAC, and we've been having some discussions about the upcoming primary battle between Trump and DeSantis. Trump did very well at the CPAC straw poll, winning a convincing 62% of the vote. But here he is giving a very Trumpian moment to the cameras and to the audience. And as much as this plays with the base, this is what I mean when I say that for every scripted moment where Trump sounds like he's pulling it together, he'll riff on something as bizarrely humorous / psychotic as, well, let's just play it.
Even exist if I didn't get NATO wouldn't even exist if I didn't get them to pay up. But they paid up $449 billion or something, and that's the money they use. They're rich as hell right now. They spent an office building that cost $3 billion. It's like a skyscraper in Manhattan laid on its side. It's one of the longest buildings I've ever seen. And I said, you should have, instead of spending...
It's thick, too. It has tremendous girth. Not only is it long, it's a thick building. But he goes on, this is what he says about the new NATO building.
And I said, you should have, instead of spending $3 billion, you should have spent $500 million building the greatest bunker you've ever seen. Because Russia wouldn't even need an airplane attack.
Listen to this.
Because Russia wouldn't even need an airplane attack. One tank, one shot through that beautiful glass building and it's gone. Same architect I used in Chicago, great architects, but they didn't have war in mind. But when things happened, that building would be gone in about 15 minutes.
I tell you, if Russia wanted to blow up NATO headquarters, they could do it in about 15 minutes, one shot through it. I mean, Jesus Christ, talk about not being able to pull it together. This is what I mean. Like, every time he does the scripted teleprompter speech and you think, okay, he's going to run a disciplined campaign. It's like, let me just do a 2-minute comedy bit on Russia blowing up the NATO building. Like, as much as that plays great to the room, I guess, although that part didn't play great to the room. You see, even the CPAC were like, holy shit, dude. Like, seriously? What? What?
Russia, if you're listening, NATO headquarters is extremely vulnerable.
How you could riff on that under these circumstances, heading into a primary with everything going on in the world, just fucking amazing. Guy is just absolutely amazing.
But you know what? And I say this as somebody who's been arguing DeSantis is going to win for a long time. That kind of shit seems to work for him. Who didn't think, even I, who was never a Trump skeptic when he was running in the primaries originally, I always thought they were underestimating him. Even I thought when he was like, yeah, you know what I like? I like people who don't get captured. Yeah, when he said that about John McCain, I was like, oh man, I mean, even Republicans are not gonna like that. It didn't put a dent
didn't matter
in his numbers. So
did not matter.
We watch him, idly speculating about Russia blowing up NATO headquarters. I mean, does that actually? I mean, why would that really play badly with the Republicans who are deeply skeptical of international institutions?
But I think most people in the country, I mean, yes, among the MAGA base, sure, they probably saw the humor in that. But most, like we were talking about last show, most elections tend to be dominated by the normies. Like that's where most elections are won and lost. And, you know, that's not something that Ron DeSantis is going to get up there and just decide to do. So we'll see how it plays.
No,
but man,
he will not.
That was great. I mean, that was just what a fucking whack job.
If we can call it a campaign, he's running a very disciplined campaign. He is very on message.
Well,
he picks exactly the right culture war weak points, and he's setting himself up as I saw on Breaking Points. Actually, they did a whole gushing thing about how Trump is polling. And first of all, if you've been in this game as long as okay, I'm going to say it correctly this time. Sagar. We had a lot
you got called out on that.
Talking about my pronunciation. I wasn't trying to be insensitive. I just have a New York accent. So Sagar has been in the game as long as he has, and Crystal as well. Come on, man. First of all, polling this far out doesn't mean anything. And I understand you got to gin up some clickbait, man. But come on, you know that polling doesn't mean anything. And if you look at what DeSantis is doing, he's making a point of standing up on these cultural issues that are really near and dear to the base of the Republican Party, and he's presenting himself as the intelligent, disciplined, competent alternative to the Catskills comedy show that is Donald Trump. And in the end, I think that's going to have more appeal than a lot of people realize once the rubber hits the road and he makes an announcement.
Look, there was a poll that came out that had DeSantis up 5 in Virginia over Biden, Trump losing by 1 in Virginia. I mean, there's no doubt general election polling is going to, I believe, as the primary goes on, start to favor DeSantis because he just doesn't inspire the kind of negative partisanship that Trump does, as much as they'll try and sell the Democratic base on that. And they will be successful to a certain extent. There's nothing that drives Democratic turnout like Trump, and that makes him a liability in the general. Also, I heard David Axelrod, as much as he's a bloodless sociopath, he is a smart and astute political operative. I mean, that is his game. He ran 2 flawless campaigns with Obama. Pardon me. He mentioned how DeSantis is running a sort of phantom campaign, and he's smart not to get in yet because now DeSantis can basically clout chase. He can inject himself into all these media stories without the pretense of it being a campaign maneuver. And so it allows him to sort of grab stories and grab press without undergoing the scrutiny of this being a political move, even though we all kind of know it is. He doesn't make like that event he did where he, called out MSNBC for misrepresenting his African-American studies, ban thing like that. Like if he were running for president, that would be a campaign event. And it would just get a lot more scrutiny and argument than it would with him just doing an event based on that one issue. So, he's actually being smart about that, I think.
And this is where I thought Sagar. There we go.
It's not that
That's
hard.
where I thought, no, it really isn't. That's where I thought, but once you get the wrong way of saying it,
it's hard, right? Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to break it. So Sagar and Crystal's take, I thought, was actually unconscionably stupid in that regard. Like they were arguing, well, this is the advantage to Trump getting in early. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. If anything, you could argue the problem with getting in that early is you peak too soon.
If you peak too soon, you start taking the incoming right away. Trump's got a bucket full of Oppo research. He starts dumping on you as soon as you say you're running. Whereas now he can just focus on issues and know that he's not going to get hit with that yet. You know what I mean?
And also polling is reflecting the fact that DeSantis has not announced. So you're asking people about an actual candidate versus a theoretical candidate.
Right.
And that's going to be reflected in the numbers.
Yeah.
Once
absolutely.
he announces and people are really looking at him, if you've already had polls where DeSantis was beating Trump without announcing, what do you think his numbers are going to look like when he announces? And this is something that libs are completely blind to. Okay, so the cultural stances that Ron DeSantis is taking are deeply popular with a lot of the people who put Biden in office. Shh. A lot of your suburban moderates will vote for DeSantis on those cultural issues, and he knows it.
Right. Exactly. All right. We got a few more super chats before we get into our Sunday funny here. Dave Delarai, I for one actually like your guys' movie TV show reviews. I know you said some don't. Thanks for doing those, guys. Well, thank you. Yeah, we think the Film Club is fun. It gives us something else to do every week. Keeps things a little fresh. Thanks to my friend Justin Van Voris. Shout out to him for filling in while Russell's in India.
Since we're just on this, I'm just gonna briefly mention this. One of my year predictions was that Disney was going to tank. It was going to go down the tubes. And if you look at the Ant-Man 3 performance, so far, reality is bearing that out. It looks like that's going to lose money. It's going to be a Marvel superhero movie that loses money.
I must admit, I missed that. Missed that story. Flew past me.
I've been watching it closely because I actually, on my own page, I said, because I looked at the slate for phases 5 and 6, and I said specifically, this is going to be a disaster to the point that they're going to cancel or seriously scale back some of these projects. Ant-Man Quantumania is going to be the canary in the coal mine. Watch how that performs. Not only did that tank, but several of these projects got delayed now that were originally supposed to be part of phase 5. For the geeks.
Garble, thanks for the $10. Kamala or Pete, pick your favorite. Schmendrick. Well, Pete wins by default there, right? Unless, of course, we have
a trans with a Schmendrick swinging it in a girl's bathroom.
Yeah, unless there's something we don't know. The great Michael Savage, everybody.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna talk this motherfucker into doing RRR when I get back in favor.
Yo, you know what? As a 3-hour movie that I watched and loved because it was Justin's #1 movie of the year, Babylon. Babylon is great. You should watch Babylon. You would love it. It's very much like The Wolf of Wall Street in a sense. It's big, it's over the top, it's vulgar, it's obscene, but it is extremely well done. The music is great, the cinematography, the art direction, the editing. It is extremely funny. It's
about early Hollywood, right?
It's about the transition from silent films to talkies and the effect that it had on the movie stars and their decadent lifestyles and things like that. Anyway, check that out on the Film Club, but it's great. It's super funny and extremely anti-PC in the dialogue and the themes, which is why a lot of the critics didn't like it. It was split 50-50 with critics. Most people writing film criticism nowadays are the kind of libs that will be triggered by a movie like that, and that's why people hated it. It's not without its flaws.
Or at the very least, they have to pretend to keep their jobs.
Right, yeah. No, it's great. It's hilarious, over the top, extreme, ridiculous, but very, very well done. Damien Chazelle, director of Whiplash and La La Land. Whiplash was great. La La Land was fine for what it was, but this was a lot of fun. I recommend it highly. Cool Blue, let's re-elect Trump just so the Democrats' heads explode, a la David Cronenberg 1981 film. Scanners. All right, well, thank you.
You missed one. Red Z did a $2 super chat.
I'm getting them.
We were getting into headlines.
Where's that one? If you see a super chat, Russell, on the chats, you can hit the star button, so it saves them. I've just figured out how to do that.
Makes it a little hard for me to mess around with the
That's okay. Right, I'm trying to find Red Z's super chat. Do you know what it was? Do you remember what it was?
It was a $2 super chat. I can't remember what it was.
All right. Well, Kinky posted one. We're going to get to that. Don't worry.
It was right when we were getting into headlines.
Okay. Oh, way back at the beginning.
Way back. I almost stopped you, but you had momentum by then, so I did.
Oh, all right. Well, that's pretty far back, but I will scroll back and probably try to find it towards the end while one of the videos are playing. Let's get to our Sunday funny here. But thank you, Red Z. I apologize if we missed it. We appreciate you And we'll see if we can find that for you. All right, here we go. Sunday funny. We thought this was fun, worth having a quick laugh at from Babylon B, especially since we don't have an East Palestine story this time for the first time in a long time. He tells residents of East Palestine, Biden does, to give up drinking water for Lent. After a surprise visit to Ukraine and a photo op with Ukrainian President Zelensky, some are pressing Biden on the environmental crisis in East Palestine. Finally broke his silence on the issue to reporters by suggesting those affected just give up drinking water for Lent. Listen, folks, Lent is here. Perfect timing. Not a joke, said the president in response to a reporter. If you're concerned about chemicals or whatever in the drinking water, just give up drinking water for Lent. Simple as that. Don't drink it. What a great opportunity to avoid toxic water while observing Lent. Biden then smiled to himself as he was pleased with the brilliant solution he had just offered. Sources close to Biden said he also plans to give up something for Lent, although no one knows what it is since he said he had plans to give up flibberblasifer. That's right, 40 days without one single sniff of flibberblasifer, said Biden. If I can go without that for long, you can go without water. At publishing time, the president also pledged aid to residents of East Palestine as long as they join the Ukrainian military. From the Babylon B.
And I say once again, when the right has been able to steal satire and comedy, something has gone deeply, deeply wrong with society.
Yes, indeed. All right, folks, we are going to get into our first main segment, although these are really just we're really doing 6 segments this evening. All 3 of those headlines were kind of segments. We're just doing a big, long show for you guys, because we love you guys very much. But you know who we love, especially our patrons. We want to shout out our Patreon supporters here. You can join the party at patreon.com/DueDissidence. You get call-in access to all of these shows. Plus, you get, of course, exclusive video content every month. We drop 4 exclusive videos to Patreon and Substack. So you can sign up at patreon.com/DueDissidence or as a paid subscriber at DueDissidence.substack.com. Please join the Substack either way. If you cannot join Substack as a paid subscriber, join for free. This way you get on our email list. That is a great way to censor-proof this operation in case we ever disappear or, get put in, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, jail, whatever. We'll always have our email list to be able to get in touch with you guys. So DueDissidence.substack.com. Want to shout out our 2 new signups this week. We have Aaron W., who, as I understand, is Arpoon Wafy on the chat. You all know Arpoon. Thank you, Arpoon. And I assume your name is Joss, first name Joss, last initial K, based on the email address. You signed up as a paid subscriber on Substack. So I'm not sure I have the name right because I'm guessing based on the email. But thank you to our new paid subscriber, Joss K.
All right, hang on. This isn't a super chat, but I'm sorry, that one's too funny.
Yeah, my dress is Zelensky. Is it I don't have the brown sweatshirt is what I would need to be dressed.
He needs the tracksuit and the hooker and the
exactly.
The tumbler of scotch.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron W, Josh K are 2 new signups. Thank you guys very much. All right, so we just did a bit of a Russia-Ukraine segment there. We're going to continue on in that theme, in that vein here. Just going to make sure I didn't miss any super chats while we're gone. Nope, I did not. All right, beautiful. All right, so Bernie Sanders.
Red Z, that is so far back. Why don't you just type again what you said?
Yeah, just type again what you said. There you go. Don't give us more money. Just type it again what you said.
Yeah, so we'll put it up.
See, that's called using your brain. That's a good solution you just thought of there. I didn't even think of that. Yeah. But yeah, that's a very good idea.
Because at this point, it's like...
Yeah, at this point, it's going to take forever.
200 comments.
Exactly. Probably more. Some of these things get like 3,000 chat comments. YouTube gives us the stats on them. Yeah, it's kind of insane. You guys are, like the Vanguard boys said, just the most deranged, delusional audience on YouTube. Oh, yeah, I have to give a quick plug. She's not here. She must be working now. But Tusker is going to be on the Extra Bullet show as a guest tomorrow night. Extra Bullet, can you please put in the time? Because I know Extra Bullet is wandering around here. Seen him wisecracking in the chat. Can you put in the time of that show so people know when to tune in? Because I'm sure a lot of our audience would love to tune in to see Extra Bullet and Tusker tear it up tomorrow, Monday night on Extra Bullets YouTube channel. So if you could give us a time on that, that'd be awesome. All righty. Very well. Here we go. Bernie Sanders was in the UK last week promoting his new book, It's Okay to Be Angry About Capitalism as Long as You Vote for My Friend Joe. It's the name of Bernie Sanders' new book that he has out. In an interview with the BBC, he was asked about his position on the Russia-Ukraine war, specifically on whether or not he supports arming the Ukrainians with the F-16 fighter jets that they have requested, and as we covered a few days ago, as Sean Penn strongly suggests, that we provide them. Here is his answer to the BBC on this question.
America send F-16.
Sorry.
Should America send F-16s?
It's not an issue that I've been heavily involved in, but I support what the president is doing. I think what Putin did was outrageous, not only for the people of the Ukraine and all the destruction, not only for the thousands and tens of thousands of Russian soldiers who have been dying. We need a world now, if we're going to combat climate change, if we're going to combat future pandemics, we need a world to come together. And Putin has radically disrupted that, and that is a real tragedy. But I think at the end of the day, the United States, NATO cannot sit back and allow Putin's aggression to go unresponded to.
You know, he never misses an opportunity to pull something back to a pet issue of his. Like he gets the climate change message into that answer somehow. We need to come together to fight climate change, and so it's terrible that Putin did this. First of all, this isn't an issue I've been involved in. Like, you know, I'm sorry that's not anything approaching a good answer. And then I support what the president is doing. You know, Putin is making it really difficult for the world to come together, as if the NATO expansion wasn't making it difficult for the world to come together. You know, Bernie's always had a blind spot when it comes to foreign policy. We kind of excused that for a while because we took for granted how little there was going on in the foreign policy realm during the Trump years, right? But what Chris Hedges always said about Bernie Sanders is that he has an arrangement with the Democratic Party not to push them too far so that he won't end up like Ralph Nader. Don't forget, Bernie Sanders is an independent in Vermont. If he really gets on the Democrats' bad side, the Democrats can run a Democrat against him in Vermont and try and knock him out, which with all the money they have, they may very well be able to do that. And so the deal he makes is that he won't push them on certain issues. These are the kinds of things, matters of war and peace, that you cannot cross your party on. A perfect lesson here is what happened to Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn talked sense on Russia-Ukraine. Jeremy Corbyn talked sense on Israel. And what happened? The Labour Party kicked him out. He can't run on his own party anymore. Right? That's what happens when you cross the powers that be on the issues that really matter to them. He can chirp about the billionaire tax, situation and universal health care and, the environments. Okay, go ahead. Write your books, sell your books, knock yourself
Mazel
out.
tov.
You can't, right? You get on the wrong side of issues like this in their view, there's no coming back from that. And this is just more evidence that he understands that.
Well, I think he's also showing his gratitude, doing what he did in 2016 and not ending up having committed a suicide. You don't cross the Clintons like that and come out the other side, not tied to a tree with a gunshot, self-inflicted. Right. So, I think he's grateful. I think he's grateful that, the family gave him a pass, let him keep breathing. Let him keep taking care of his family. Not to mention, God knows what kind of shenanigans. Now we can say it. Now we can say it. Okay. Do any of the former Bernie people not think his wife is probably criminally liable for her shenanigans with that college that she was running up there? Like, do any of us really believe that nothing funny was going on there? At the very least, incredibly gross incompetence and possibly criminal liability. So, they could have that. On a serious note, they could be holding that over his head. But because if you notice, once he dropped out, that whole story went away. They just stopped.
They never made much of an issue of it during the campaign. Not really. I mean, it was a subject of a few pieces. I never even really looked into it, honestly. I don't really know much about that.
Yeah, it's she this college was kind of failing, and she raised all this donor money to build these new buildings, and it was just like a boondoggle that destroyed the college. Like, it put the college in so much debt that they had to close. So they were talking about investigating around that, and then that just seemed to go away after he dropped out. So that could be what they have over him, but really, overall, it's the line, "I don't want to end up like Nader," explains everything you need to know about Bernie in regards to things like this. You're right. He knows what lines he can't cross. You want to subpoena Howard Schultz? Fine. Subpoena Howard Schultz. It's not going to result in anything anyway. The rich are going to stay rich.
Right.
You can talk all you want. You're not going to make a dent in our power and prerogatives. Maybe a little around the edges, but you know what? That's good for us anyway. We can run on that. When on occasion you win a victory where you pressure a pharmaceutical company into lowering the price of insulin, even though we might have fought against that tooth and nail behind the scenes, we're going to take credit for every small advance you might make to prove we're better than the other guys when the elections roll around. So it's good to have you around doing that shit, Bernie.
Right.
Just
exactly.
don't fuck with the MIC.
Right. Don't get in the way of that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to our next segment here. This is really fantastic. Some of you guys asked us about this last night. What do we always say about corporate media, especially MSNBC? But the big story in corporate media this week is not anything that we've been covering on the show. It's not anything that you've probably been thinking about out there in the audience. The big story in corporate media this week is that Fox News hosts knew that Donald Trump's big lie theory about the 2020 election was bullshit, but they pushed it anyway, right? There's documents that reveal that a lot of the hosts knew that they were selling the audience a bill of goods on this, but whatever, it's good for ratings. They seem to like it. We're selling some ad revenue off of this. Let's just run with this, right? Now, when the topic came up on Bill Maher's panel on this week's edition of Real Time, MSNBC's John Heilemann, who was on the panel, referred to Fox as just a blatant propaganda network, uniquely unfit to call itself a news organization. Now, given MSNBC's own outrageous biases and tendency to propagandize their own audience, Russell Brand, who was on the panel with him, couldn't pass up the opportunity to just thoroughly dismantle both Heilemann and his bosses at MSNBC. This is chicken soup for the soul here. So let's watch.
I've not known you long, but I love you already. But I have to say that it's disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless we start to embrace, and also, mate, like just spiritually, if I may use that word in your great country, we have to take responsibility for our own perspective. I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propagandist nutcrackery on there. I went on a show called Morning Joe. It was absurd the way they carried on.
Good Morning Joe.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't morning. There was no one called Joe there. No one could concentrate. They didn't understand the basic tenets of journalism.
If you watch that edition of Morning Joe when Russell Brand was on there, he's absolutely right. Yeah, it's like he was clearly fucking with them, but by halfway through the segment, they were completely off balance. Mika Brzezinski even says, like, I'm a little nervous, like I don't even know how to continue, but they couldn't cut to commercial because they still had segment time to do. So that's what he's talking about there. But now he really starts laying it on.
No one was willing to stick up for genuine American heroes like Edward Snowden. No one was willing to talk about Julian Assange and what he suffered trying to bring real journalism to the American people. And I think to sit within the castle of MSNBC throwing rocks at Fox News is ludicrous. Make MSNBC better. Make MSNBC great.
Ooh, hot. That keyboard is hot now. That keyboard's on fire. Sorry, I can't touch it. I gotta let it cool off before I hit the play button again. God damn. Just a barrage of truth from Russell Brand. And Lambert here in the chat said that clearly Russell Brand despises this bald dude. You could tell. Yeah, if you watch the whole show, he had daggers in his eyes for Heilemann from minute one. From minute one, he was out for him. And good for him. We're going to watch more, but let's take a little break.
As he should. I'm gonna recommend a book. I forget the name of the journalist who wrote it. Begovich, maybe. It's a book called This Town, and the guy got a lot of shit for it because it was a case of a journalist revealing how this whole antagonistic, these journalists versus these journalists, these politicians versus these is kind of WWE. And one of the things he mentions is that Joe and Mika kind of lead the morning jog. You know, so you get all these people from, you know, the Rupert Murdoch side of things or from the MSN. They all get together and jog together in the morning. You know, he talks about things that even if you're a politics geek, you don't know about. Like the fact that Dubai and the UAE pays all of these people outrageous sums to go stay in these luxury hotels and give speeches. And it's all these people who are arguing with each other on the air. They're all hanging out at the bar at these hotels in Dubai, being paid to give speeches. You know, so having a guy like Russell Brand dropped into the middle of Morning Joe, which is really the epitome of what he's describing in this town. Like they are really the vanguard of that cozy access journalism. That's why they were friendly with Trump until it became toxic to be friendly with him, right?
Exactly.
Because Joe and Mika are the epitome of that non-ideological, aristocratic Washington elite mentality and lifestyle. So having Russell Brand dropped in there just did, like anyone who hasn't seen that, it's all over YouTube. You can find it. It's hilarious because it's just they don't even know what to do with that.
Right.
With someone just being dropped into, of all places, Morning Joe and telling the truth.
And there are like 6 hosts who are trying to interview him, and none of them could break through because he's just toying with every one of them. Yeah, exactly.
Right, because they're on a script, and no matter who they have on the show, they're on that script. Right. Even if in theory they're political antagonists, they're within this script. And Brand, that's what's great about him. He's calling out the truth, and the truth is so far away from the script that they're used to being on that they just didn't even know how to cope with it.
Exactly. All right, let's go back to the video. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. First time here. If you're not subscribed, there's 400 of you in here now. Hit that subscribe button, please. We're up to 6,310. That's good. Some of you guys listened. Let's get those numbers up, please. Really helps. All right, here we go. Let's hear more.
Fred, the moment
Fight them on a territory you can win on, Joe.
Russell, darling, the moment that you give me a specific example, an actual example.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Wait, just wait.
Wait.
Just
Let me need a specific example.
Let me tell you what the specific I'd like to hear of. I'd like to hear a specific example, a provable specific example of an MSNBC correspondent or anchor being on television saying something they knew was false and were saying behind the scenes to people, I'm about to go out and we know that the election wasn't stolen or something equivalent. But I will go out on television and say the opposite. I will lie.
When's my answer?
See how he keeps filibustering because he doesn't really want him to answer. It takes Russell Brand forever to actually get him to let him answer the question.
Sir. Just give me the specific example.
I understand the basic point.
Give me a specific example.
All right.
Right.
I think it's a false equivalency.
No, it's not. That's your own biases.
Let him answer.
It's not about bias.
Yeah, let him answer.
Because you don't actually know anything about any of these organizations you're talking about. Even on MSNBC once. Big fucking deal.
My darling, it was more than enough.
You can't come up with you have a single actual fact.
Do you want an example?
Keeps filibustering.
Do you want an example?
Keeps filibustering. This literal dickhead. I mean, if South Park had a giant talking dick character, they wouldn't even have to animate it. They would just cast this guy. It would save them quite a bit of budget and time. But here we go. Now we're going to get an answer.
Enough.
You can't come up with that. You don't have a single actual fact.
Do you want an example? Do you want an example?
Yes.
The ludicrous, outrageous criticisms of Joe Rogan around ivermectin, deliberately referring to it as a horse medicine when they know it's an effective
Non-responsive, he
medicine.
says.
Yeah, that's
What
not a bad
Rachel
example.
Maddow turning up on the TV saying,
These
if
are
you
the
take
libs.
this vaccine, you're not going to get it. When it hadn't been clinically trialed for transmission.
Non-responsive.
You have to listen.
These are the libs. What do I always tell you? The libs will not argue with you. When you checkmate them, they just find a way to give a cheap retort that does not address any of the substance of what you say. And watch what happens here. This is what really happens. Watch.
Of America by determinedly and avowedly condemning Fox News without acknowledging that you're participating in the same game. Did you not just listen to Bernie Sanders, someone who plainly, legitimately believes in this country and believes it's possible to change, but is bound by corruption, is bound by the lobbying system? Surely it's clear to you, Bill, as one of the great pundits and experts and comic voices, that systemic change is required. Money has to be taken out of politics. We need new political systems that genuinely represent ordinary Americans so that we can overcome cultural differences. And bickering about which propagandist network is the worst is not going to save a single American life, not improve the life of a single American child, not going to improve America's standing in the world, and the world needs a strong America. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. So you have an obligation, a duty, not to condemn these people.
Hot keyboard again. Hot keyboard again. Red hot, red hot. But what I'm referring to here, and I said, take a look. You may have missed
Needs a
it.
strong America. I'll
Here
tell
we go.
you that.
We have to look closely
so
here.
You have an obligation.
There's that liberal cat stare I'm talking about right there. Just a blank look staring into space. He doesn't have the guts to actually look at Russell Brand while he's saying this because he knows how fucked he is. But there it is. Just that, just what? You're talking to a wall with these people. And this relates to all the Marianne stuff we've been doing, because if you're advocating for Marianne Williamson's candidacy, understand, in order to win a Democratic primary, you have to convince people who can look at this conversation and actually think that John Heilemann won this argument. Yes. Most Democratic primary voters believe John Heilemann got the better of Russell Brand in that argument. That's what you have to understand there. But wow, what a performance. And look, if you do not have an HBO Max subscription because it costs money, Real Time puts audio podcasts out of every show. I have not recommended an episode of Bill Maher in years. You got to listen to this one. Brand is just on fire from minute one to the last second. It is masterful. Right after that segment, they went into Brexit. I believe that segment was perhaps even stronger than this one, but that recycles some of the older themes about the disaffected working class. Like, I feel like we've done that enough. But this was just him owning this guy and his network and his bosses right to his face in such brilliant fashion. Well done.
Yeah, and that's really the perfect person to pull that on. Like, the only better, as someone representing Morning Joe, the only thing that would have been better than that would have been Rachel Maddow. Oh my God, what I would give Russell Brand and Rachel Maddow on the same panel, but Maddow would never take that offer. She's too cagey. She's too smart.
Oh, Maddow is a Rhodes Scholar.
In a position to get called out like that by Russell Brand.
And just to address, because, Russell made the point about the Schmeiver Schmeckton and things like that, we can't talk about in detail because YouTube is East Berlin. But we can, I can point to another example, and this is another example that we're not allowed to talk about in detail, but John Heilemann said the Fox News hosts are going on and parroting the big lie, even though they know it's nonsense. Let me just put this tweet up on the screen because this was real. Okay. This was real. This was a YouGov poll. This was not some kook poll that came out at the time. In 2018, you could read it right there. 67% of Democrats believe it is definitely true or probably true that Russia, we're not going to risk tripping any censors here, but you can read it on the screen. I'll read it for the audio podcast. Look what that says, everybody. If you are only listening to us right now, and you have another window open that you're watching, close the Pornhub for a second, come over here, look at our screen here, and read what that says. You think that's by accident? You don't think MSNBC was deliberately, through innuendo and lies and propaganda, putting in their dumbass fucking moron viewers' heads that those election results were not on the up and up? Just because they don't come out and say it doesn't mean they don't spread bullshit knowingly and consciously in order to gin up ratings. Robert Mueller's name was said every single day but one, between the 2016 election and the publishing of the Mueller report. On the day his name wasn't mentioned was probably a day where some horrible tragedy happened, and that was wall-to-wall coverage. They pumped that Russiagate story every single day. You're telling me Rhodes Scholar Rachel Maddow didn't know she was lying to her audience? You want me to believe that? Seriously? I mean, the argument that Heilemann is making there is absurd, which is that most media doesn't lie. Most media outlets don't lie. Like, Fox News is the only media outlet. I mean, it's just absurd on its face. But given the Russiagate example, it's especially outrageous.
Well, and we were talking about this before the show. A poll circulated a few years ago that was testing how accurate the understanding of current events was among people who consume different media. And yeah, like the people who watched Fox were slightly more incorrect in their answers. It was something like 56%. But then MSNBC was at about 54% incorrect. And NPR came out the best with 52%. Now, you want to look at the liberal mind. I saw an idiot who was an NPR, like mainlining NPR moron, who posted that poll to brag about their devotion to NPR. And I pointed out the very obvious fact that the NPR viewers are only 4 points away from these Fox people that you're supposedly so superior to, which I would say, unless they sampled 1 million people, is probably within the margin of error. So this poll actually proves that taking in NPR doesn't make you any more informed than somebody who watches Fox. They had, of course, cat stare. Yes, absolutely. Right. But how stupid would you be to read that poll and not take it as a rebuke of your beliefs, but a confirmation of it because you're 4 points better than a Fox viewer? And
it's also not even a question of necessarily how uninformed you are as a whole, but it also matters here, if we're going to parse this, which issues you are uninformed about, right? The Fox viewers may be more uninformed in general on issues like the big lie, which ultimately resulted in some yahoos walking around the Capitol smearing shit on the wall for a few hours. But the MSNBC viewers are far less informed on the Russia-Ukraine war. Right? If you watch Tucker, you have the straight dope on that war, much more so than if you watch Chris Hayes at 8 o'clock. Which issue is of greater consequence? MSNBC told their viewers during the Democratic primary that Medicare for All was about taking health care away from people. They actually parroted, that was their attack on Medicare for All, that you're going to take health care away from people. When the legislation was readable to all of the anchors who supposedly were telling the truth as they saw it. That it was a phased-in plan over 4 years, which simply swapped out private for-profit insurance plans with a government-backed healthcare guarantee. You were not taking away people's healthcare. You were taking away their copays, premiums, deductibles, and hours on the phone arguing with insurance people who refused to pay for the medicine they needed. That's all you were taking away with Medicare for All. But they parroted the line nonstop that this was a threat to people's medical coverage, when it was the exact opposite. Once again, you want me to believe that Chris Hayes, a former labor reporter for In These Times magazine, a very good magazine to this day, he used to write there. You're telling me he didn't know that? You're telling me he didn't know he was bullshitting his audience about that? Get the fuck out of here. It's a joke.
I can't remember exactly who he was interviewing. This was during the Sanders campaign. But somebody he was interviewing started to go off script. This is Chris Hayes. And they caught him on camera going like this to the person. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No.
This clip was making the rounds a few years ago. So look, I mean,
I hadn't even heard of that. That's why I was just laughing at it because I didn't even hear it.
No, yeah, he on camera was doing this, like, get off that, you know. So
It's a good move. I have to learn that for you for certain topics. Sit over here like, all right.
It won't work. So, you do that. You just text me on the side.
Or what about this? I just there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Ixnay on the child drag shows.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, look, when you decide to go work at a place like MSNBC and you're coming out of a place like In These Times, you're signing the blood contract. You're signing the contract with the devil. You know that's what you're doing. Maybe you justify it to yourself by saying, well, I'm gonna have such a platform, you know, I'll do some stories that do good. And, you know, if you feel a need to tell yourself that. I think also when you think about the world that they live in, who do they talk to who contradicts them? Right. I mean, they only talk to other liberals who are not going to call them out on lying.
John Heilemann lives in New York City, right? I mean, who in his life is going to tell that to him?
Right.
And he just happened to have the misfortune of being booked on Bill Maher the same night as Russell Brand. Because Bill Maher usually doesn't book guests like that. Bill Maher usually books, you know, it's basically an R-rated morning Joe show is what Bill Maher has turned into at this point.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But yeah, he got a tough break there. Having a stomach.
Regular Donnie Deutsch, trust fund baby Donnie Deutsch went on there and talked about how if Sanders is the nominee, after he was cleaning up in the first 3 states, and
he was going to vote for Trump.
Like he was going to vote for Trump, right? That's who these people really are.
Mm-hmm. And then Joe corrected him on air. Says, "No, you're not. No, you're not." No, and then he was, that's right. Yeah, I
can't. And it was a way of saying, don't throw your career away. Right. You can't say that publicly.
Don't give up the game. Right. Exactly.
Don't give up the game. Exactly. You can't say that in public. I'm going to vote for Trump too if Sanders is the nominee, but I would never say that on the air. So
yeah.
And then Donnie, he immediately follows it. You know, it was like watching a mafia family. It really was. It was like he said something you can't say. Are you sure that you don't want to revise that statement?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
No, I remember exactly how that went down.
That's not what I meant.
No, I remember exactly how that went down. Scarborough went down. He says, "No, you won't, Donnie." He says, "Donnie, you won't vote for a bigot. I know you won't vote for a bigot, even though he just said he would, because rather a bigot than a socialist, right? Which makes sense when you inherited your father's advertising company, so-called marketing expert, branding expert, Donnie Deutsch, inherited his father's advertising company and then sold it a few years later when it was worth less than what he inherited it for, less than it was valued when he took it over. Shows a great businessman he is, right? Rich kid.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. This is who we should be listening to about politics. You know, and that's just a good example. Why the fuck does that guy have a platform? Why is that guy being platformed? You wonder why schmucks like us are fucking, you know, blasting off on YouTube. That's why Donnie Deutsch. Deutsch. What credibility does Donnie Deutsch have? Does Donnie Deutsch have more reliable opinions and predictions and reads of the political landscape than a couple of New York Jew schmucks like us have? No. No, he does not.
Exactly. Check, everybody. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Please do so. We got 427 people in here. This is great. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. We're up to 6312. That's what we like to see. Let's keep it going. Can we get to 6325 by the end of the night? We have some pretty exciting projects, actually, that we are looking to announce when Russell gets back. But they are going to cost some money. So hit that subscribe button. I'm not asking you to donate no money, but just help us grow the project so that we can afford to do some of these things that we're going to be announcing when Russell is back in New York. So, we're not trying to hit you up too hard yet, but at least hit the subscribe button so, you stay in touch. All right. Thanks very much.
The Sunday Funnies are going to become original content. And
there's going to become original content. We're also talking about perhaps doing our first actual dissident doc, an actual film project that will not just be for YouTube. We're talking about making an actual movie, and we cannot reveal any details about that now because we have not consulted with the subject of the film yet, so we can't announce it even if we wanted to. But we got something in the works, at least in our minds. We'll see if we can make that happen. I think we're going to be able to.
We do have a camera hidden in his shower, but he doesn't know about that.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, let's knock out these super chats before we do our final segment of the evening. Kinky, thanks for the $2. Will Zelensky get an Oscar? Yeah, will they have Zelensky speak at the Oscars? I'm not sure. He spoke at the Golden Globes. That movie Navalny about the Russian dissident is up for documentary feature. I'd be shocked if that did not win, but I'm not sure about Zelensky himself making an appearance. Bryce Smith, thank you for the $4.99 super sticker. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. This is not a super chat, but since I got my digs in on John Heilemann's looks, I liked this one. It's a Walmart James Carville. I thought that's funny. Thank you, Wayne Tables. Tusker, thank you for the $5. I didn't understand what the term non-responsive meant and why he kept repeating it. It's just, look, maybe that's his safe word. Non-responsive.
Yeah.
Maybe, who knows? But look, that's not a surprising answer from him.
His instant reaction to being humiliated.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's how the liberals talk. I mean, anyone who's argued with one of these people knows that is what to expect. That's one of the reasons why that segment was so worth playing, not just because Russell Brand was absolutely on fire, but because the way Heilemann reacts is so typical of the way liberals react when they are challenged.
Yeah.
First, he filibusters, so it takes forever for Russell to even get a chance to answer him. And then when he does answer him, just one word, non-responsive. And then when Russell Brand starts getting into detail, starts really hitting him, he does the cat stare. Now all of a sudden,
yep.
Exactly. That's what it's like. And this is why, seriously, we've basically said what we have to say about the Marianne thing. We're not going to harp on this and try and gin up subs out of this. We've pretty much said what we had to say about it. But this is why that's so futile. This is why Democratic politics are so futile, because those are the people you're dealing with. So even when you're right, and a lot of what Marianne said in her speech, we agree. She lifted that speech from the Bernie platform. A lot of it we agree. The point is, if you're not willing to do a dirty break, it doesn't matter, because you cannot have a good faith argument with these people and win them over, because the way John Heilemann reacted to Russell Brand when he was challenged is the rule, not the exception when it comes to arguing with the libs. And it's just hopeless.
And let me, to stick to the Morning Joe thing, this is why libs are incapable of doing any kind of accurate political analysis. They just don't understand that the people that they like, that they find credible, are repulsive to most people. So Trump, a big part of Trump's popularity that they were not able to wrap their heads around, because they would process it completely differently from how anyone who's not a doctrinaire Democrat would. When he talked about how Mika went to Mar-a-Lago with her face bleeding from a face
and asked for a picture with him.
Okay, look, understand, for most Americans, that would be like if you're in 18th century France making cracks about Marie Antoinette's morning toilet routine, right? It's going after the hated elites who you despise and who despise you in turn. That's how.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. But Joyce has to go, and she gave us $20. Thank you, Joyce. Appreciate it. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Joyce. If that reads to you as, well, you're one of the elites he's making fun of, or more pathetically and more commonly, you think you are.
Right. Right. You think you are, and you aspire to be one. Exactly. Got some more super chats to get through before our last segment. Thank you guys very much. You guys are very generous this evening. We appreciate that. Thank you, Zach. Brand like Rogan is clearly a right-wing extremist. No, this is amazing. So look, I know the Vanguard boys tweeted out, Russell, no, because he took a picture with Don Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle. There was a picture of Russell Brand with his arm around, Don Jr. and his wife. And I knew, without knowing the full context of the picture, that had to be an event for Rumble because Russell Brand is a host on Rumble. Guilfoyle is starting a hosting gig on Rumble. I figure if they're mingling at an event, it must be a Rumble event. Sure enough.
What was it? Wasn't that? I thought they were all at the Plato's Retreat relaunch.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's right before the threesome.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, it was a grand opening for Rumble's new headquarters in Sarasota, Florida, and they took a picture, and that triggered some people. But look, Russell Brand used to be on YouTube. I think he might still have a YouTube show. He did some piece of content. YouTube gave him a warning. Right, a content warning, right? They pulled a video and they said, you can't do this. They didn't penalize him yet, but they said, you have to stop. Now, Russell Brand is a huge star. He did, frankly, what we would do if we were huge stars and they gave us a warning. Well, take your warning, shove it up your ass. I'm going over to Rumble. I have a big audience that'll follow me. So that's what he did.
He has like 5 million, doesn't he?
He had like 6 million subs on YouTube. And so now, he's helping build Rumble. And we're streaming now on YouTube. We're also streaming on Rumble. If you guys have a Rumble account, please go follow us over there. We want to be on as many platforms as we can. We're not going anywhere. We love YouTube. We need YouTube. We love this chat. We love all you guys. But, he got smeared as a right-winger largely for that reason. I mean, if the left or the center left just kicks you out of spaces when you say something that challenges them, then of course they're going to, look, they were at an event together. He took a picture. Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? What, you coddling, right? They come up to a sexy rock star comic, ask him for a picture. He says, yeah, sure. Who the fuck gives a shit?
Well, if you remember for a minute during the height of COVID, some of what Brand was saying made him like villain of the week. He never got to be villain of the month like Rogan, but he was like villain of the
right. He had his Hitler of the week thing,
week
as
period.
Taibbi would say. Right, exactly. Yeah. Justin, oops, sorry. Oh no, I got Zach's already. Sorry, Justin. Thank you for the $5, and I got your email, Justin. Justin is the gentleman from I believe yesterday who had some inside knowledge about the Green Party and Jesse Ventura. You reached out to us via email. We're going to try to have you on the show to talk about that. One of our other patrons actually just messaged us. We've been getting a lot of messages. I've been reading these all myself because Russell's away. So if I'm late returning some of you guys' emails or messages, I apologize about that. But we've been getting slammed, and I will get to all of you guys, I promise. Another patron of ours sent us a message about the inner workings of the Green Party. So we might be able to put together an interesting panel on Green Party politics, which would be interesting heading into the 2024 season. So, but anyway, sorry. Justin, thank you for the $5. Brand is brilliant here. Wow, it was fantastic. And he was fantastic. He was just on Rogan as well because he has a new comedy special coming out apparently. And so he's on like a press tour promoting that and his new Rumble show. I haven't even gotten past the first 20 minutes of the Rogan interview, but already it's fantastic. No, he's awesome. He's just great. He's just a really fierce mind.
You know who actually took a lot of pictures with Donald Trump? Everybody. Everybody.
We're talking about Don Jr. We're not talking about Trump.
I know,
okay.
But I'm saying, so Hillary.
Right.
Bill,
oh, you mean the big daddy Trump. Right, exactly.
Everybody took pictures with Donald Trump. So why is this a problem now? All of a sudden.
Yeah, coddling, right? Bryce, thank you again for another donation. We appreciate that, sir. Christian Drake, thank you for the $10. In the Maddow lawsuit with One American News Network, MSNBC said they were bullshit artists providing entertainment that people shouldn't assume is true, if I recall correctly. Yes, I don't recall that thoroughly. I don't remember looking into it all that much. But yes, they did give a defense similar to the DNC fraud defense, which is, we could run it how we want. And they did make the excuse that they are essentially an entertainment network and that people should not expect objective truth.
Well, they literally said in open court, if we wanted to go to a back room with cigars and pick the nominee like in the old days, we could do that.
We could do that, right? And Marianne Williamson said to Jonathan Capehart before the piece that we played, these aren't the days where you can still do that.
Oh, but they
Except
are.
they are.
According to the DNC.
Except they are.
Court. Right.
But her plan is to get to 42% so she can extract concessions.
Now they'll have arugula salads.
Right, yeah, right, exactly, yeah. But she wants to get to 42% of the vote so that when they do that, she can extract concessions from that. Yeah.
42%.
I'm going to go into that smoke-filled room. I'm going to say, now listen, I got 42%.
Like Hillary did with Goldman Sachs. She told them to knock it off, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, go knock it off. Cut it out. Russiagate is a mother flubber. Thank you, Bryce. Again, appreciate it. Rodrigo Mendez, thank you for the $1.99. While I'm reading these, Russell, can you see if there are any more super chats that we haven't starred yet? Thank you. We need more DueDissidence RBN. I mean, if it's hard, don't risk your setup. Russell's doing this on like a pile of pillows or I don't even know what his setup is, but he's in a hotel room in India. So if it's anything too acrobatic, don't do it. I'll do it. We need more DueDissidence RBN collabs. Yeah, we had JB, who I saw floating around the chat here earlier. I don't know if you're still here, JB, but he co-hosted with me. That was the second show when Russell was gone. Yeah, we would love to do some more work with JB and all the guys over there. That would be awesome. In fact, Nick Cruz spoke at the Workers Strike Back rally, and they didn't post the full video until right before we went on the air. I would have played some of his speech in this last segment, but I have Kshama's speech coming up. But yeah, no, we'd be totally down for that. That'd be great. Thank you, Rodrigo.
I got one here from Cool Blue.
Okay, cool.
Was a hamster.
So did you just hit the star? Hit the star next to it. You see where it says the star?
Yeah, you already starred the hamster one.
Okay, if I already started. Oh, yeah, I see the hamster one.
And you starred Cool Blue, yeah.
Oh, I did. Okay, so I got them all. All right, perfect. Clove Coast, $4.99. Thank you. Saw Nick and Kshama Workers Strike Back. Okay, there you go. One step ahead of me there. Nick's speech was fire. Clove Coast, were you at the Workers Strike Back rally yesterday, or the launch, the meeting? You were actually in the room, because we're going to play some footage from that in a few minutes. But that's great if you were there. That's awesome. And thank you for the donation. Joyce, we already got Joyce. Got to go. This was entertaining. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joyce. Appreciate it. Your mother was a hamster. When the world slips you a Jeffrey, stroke the furry walls. Do you get that, Russell? Is there a reference I'm missing there, or was that?
When the world slips you a Jeffrey. I mean, I'm assuming that's an Epstein reference, but stroke the furry walls.
I don't know that one.
I don't get that. It sounds like a kink. It sounds like a kink term that we might.
It's a riddle. Well, thank you.
It might be a riddle. Where's Batman when you need him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The D's think their shit doesn't stink. Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. That was the attitude that Heilemann gave off there. Eric Cousseau, thank you for the $2, my friend. The back room is called Superdelegates. Yeah, well, that's the failsafe. You know, the more this goes on, the more you really believe that they actually would have done a convention coup against Bernie, even if he did pull through Super Tuesday. I mean, it seems pretty obvious they were going to actually do that. So, yes, thank you. Jay, the informant, thank you. Jay, you, I don't know if you were watching on a delay last show. I think it was yesterday, but I noticed you gave us a super chat yesterday that came on after we signed off. But so sorry that we didn't get a chance to read that one. But thank you, and thank you again for the $5 this time. If any candidate for 2024 paid you gentlemen to be the lead media for them, who would y'all do it for? Also, which CPC do you want to see outed in 2024? If any candidate paid me to be the lead media for them, who would I do press for? Well, of those who are already announcing, I mean, I would have a lot of fun being Trump's press person. Like, that would just be a lot of fun. I feel like I would have reign to abuse them, which is what I would like to do. I mean, it wouldn't be any fun doing it for Biden. Marianne doesn't strike me as someone with a terrific sense of humor. She'd probably keep me on a short leash. So I'd have to say Trump. Who would y'all do it for? And also, which CPC do y'all want to see outed in 2024? I don't care. I wash my hands of it. I don't give a shit. Let the Democratic Party be what they want to be. That's it. I think it would be justice for Jayapal to get voted out. It's not going to happen, though. I mean, you know, this is part of the reason why we're so against this inside the party strategy, because it's just so difficult to move anything within that organization. So I don't really care. I mean, Jayapal is the most deserving since she's the most, as much as AOC is the poster child for the squad, she's not the worst offender. Jayapal is the worst offender. I mean, she came out and just straight up lied to the entire progressive base of the country, saying we will not fold on Build Back Better. She promised that over and over again, fundraised a fuck ton off of that promise, and then broke it in broad daylight. So she's the worst as far as I'm concerned. Russell, do you have an answer to that? To any of those? Who would you do press for? Yeah.
Okay. Is this only actual candidates, or can we pick any living human who's eligible? Because I want to run the Dave Chappelle campaign as his campaign manager. I wrote in Dave Chappelle for president in 2020. So it's just a natural progression for me to run his campaign.
What about for actual candidates?
Actual candidates? I'd want to run Marianne's campaign because I'm gonna write into her speeches like Jim Morrison quotes.
Yeah, right.
What you have to understand, people, is that I am the Lizard King. I can do anything. What the fuck? What was that? I mean, yeah, I think it would be a hoot. Well, I mean, the key would be
Roadhouse Blues would be a great entrance or exit song after the rally.
Yeah,
kind of rousing. Yeah, it'd be good. Gets people moving. Gets people pumped up.
Have her quote Carlos Castaneda in her speeches.
Exactly.
I would try to play up the absurdity of her candidacy in ways that she wouldn't pick up on. That's what I would do. I would throw in things that would seem reasonable to her that is going to make her a laughing stock.
All right, let's keep going. Got some more super chats to get through
and
here.
CPC, AOC, it's personal, man. I campaigned for her.
That's true. Yes, he has skin in the game for that. Taya, thank you for the $20. Taya, we appreciate that very much. Something I've learned from years wading through culture wars: drop isms, tribal purity stuff, talk about the problems people have and meet them where they're at, even if it's uncomfortable. It's hard, but it works. Well, Kshama touches upon that in her speech that we're about to play a little bit from. So, yeah, no, I mean, we're all about that here. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Taya. Russ's shirt, what's up with that? You must have stumbled in a little bit late, Bryce, but that's okay. Thanks for the other donation. Here, Russell. Well, I don't want to make you stand up in case that you knock something over. But yeah, it's like he had that one's pretty cool. I love a Hawaiian shirt. A Hawaiian shirt is so comfortable. Maybe I'll wear a Hawaiian shirt in the summertime.
Well, it's like the British Museum. I'm going to be returning with a lot of artifacts from India. As I've been traveling around, but I've actually paid for mine. As I've been traveling around, different towns and different regions have different things that they specialize in. So there are certain places that are really good for figurines. Udaipur, they're known for a style of painting that's like miniature, where you have to, really just use a magnifying glass. So I bought a lot of paintings there. But naturally, I'm in Goa. It's a beach town. This is what they have. These are the things really being sold by the vendors. So I picked up a couple of outrageous shirts that are going to shock people on the subway when I get back to my native land.
There you go. Excellent. No, I love a Hawaiian shirt. We should do a show both dressed in Hawaiian shirts.
I mean, honestly, what I want, I said on the last show, because everywhere you go in India, there are swastikas everywhere because it's a mystic symbol for them.
Okay, well, we can't wear those.
Nazis appropriated it.
Yeah.
Well, not on the air, but they do.
Good luck. Good luck. I'm gonna have to find a real.
No, I did see stores that have that print because
I understand. I'm talking about you can't walk around New
York.
Religious.
I'm dying.
Well,
just to be like, actually, I'm a member of a religion. This is the Nazis appropriated my religion.
I got to tell you, I don't recommend doing that. I got to advise against that. Strongly advise against that. Be funny. I was worried about Russell getting bit by a snake or stomped by a camel or poisoned or kidnapped. He's gonna come back here and start walking around New York City with his Indian garb, trying to explain to people how they shouldn't be offended by it, and that's how he's gonna get killed. All right, let's keep going here. We got some more to get through, and then we have another segment to do, but we'll keep reading them if you guys keep donating them. Thank you very much, everybody. That's the same argument Tucker Carlson's lawyer made about his show after they got sued. Same as Maddow's lawyers. Yeah, no, look, I mean, we're not saying that Fox is necessarily better, although I think on the most important issues of the day right now, I think you could make a strong argument that on matters of war and peace, even the East Palestine, Ohio, they've been on that way more than MSNBC has been on that, right? But what Russell Brand said is like, we're going to sit here and parse which of the corporate bought and paid for propaganda networks are the worst. That is ignoring the big picture. It's ignoring the needs of ordinary people, which is what politics ought to be about. Serving. But thank you for that comment.
Well, and actually, I want to mention, if you remember, it was pretty amazing how the liberal media was all over that when it came up with Tucker Carlson, and they didn't talk about it at all with the Rachel Maddow case. It was exactly the same discussion in court about how no reasonable person would take them seriously. But they and the Tucker result, I'm almost positive, was after Maddow. They were completely silent about Maddow, but they were all about talking about it when it came up with Tucker.
Right. Let's see. Oh, I didn't Extra Bola. I just tagged it because I know you're still here. So this is Extra Bola. That's the name of his channel. If you got Tusker on tomorrow, I don't know if you already said this, but let us know what time the show is at so we can give it a proper plug. Eric, thank you. Jimmy Dore 2024. But seriously, I heard RFK Jr. is running. You know, it's funny. I've been, and thank you once again for the donation, sir. When I tweeted out a clip, the clip we're about to play in our final segment here for Workers Strike Back is a clip of Kshama Sawant. And, earlier in her speech, not in the portion we're going to play, she talks about the need for a new party. And, oh, perfect. Sorry. 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Tusker on Extra Bullet. Make sure you tune in. 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, sir. Thank you for doing that. So there were some people who replied to me that, if they're going to get a candidate off the ground, they're going to have to act soon. And I said, well, listen, they just launched yesterday, so you'd have to see how this goes. They don't have a party yet. But the assumption I assume that this person was talking about, and maybe this person who follows us on Twitter is in the chat right now, is that they're going to somehow run a presidential candidate, and they're not going to. I would be shocked if Workers Strike Back had any candidates on the ballot for 2024. I think we have to, at the risk of being like Crystal and telling everybody to grow up. No, they're not. They're just a movement at this. No, they're just a labor movement at this point. At a certain point, a political party might grow out of that. I think that's like a possible long-term plan. But right now, they are simply a labor movement. And I think what we have to all just understand, and I know that this space really blossomed in the 2016 Sanders campaign during the Democratic primary. Indie media sort of is obsessed with as much of, political discourse is obsessed with presidential politics. I think we all just have to understand the next president being sworn in on January 20th, 2025, at this point, barring any life and death circumstances, it's either Biden, DeSantis, or Trump. That's it. It sucks that that's it, but that's it. Nobody else is breaking through. It's going to be one of those three guys. Next president is going to be a piece of shit no matter who it is. Let's just understand that, and let's work within that system. And by I say within that system, I don't mean within the electoral system. I mean work within a doomed country to try and put as many wins on the board for as many people as we can. That's what Kshama has done as one Seattle City Council member, right? And so that's the name of the game. Like the idea that we're going to upend the system and elect a good president in 2024, that's just not going to happen. Like, let's just accept that's not on the menu. That is not intended to drive people to despair. It's actually intended in the exact opposite way. Just let go of that. The people who are setting themselves up for despair are the people who are getting excited about Marianne Williamson now. Those are the people who are going to feel really despaired in about a year and a half. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much on this because I'm going to step on the last segment. We got to get through these super chats. But thank you, Eric. All right. Just saying how it's funny. They admit they are mostly the exact same. Sans those differences you point to. No, they operate more or less the exact same way. All cable news TV is infotainment. And look, to a certain extent, guys, of course, we're infotainment also. We try to put on a show for everybody. Like, entertainment value is real value. It's what keeps people engaged. So I don't mind that they are catering to an audience and trying to entertain an audience. What I mind is that they do so using propagandistic tactics that are meant to keep ordinary people down, not to lift them up. Russell, do you have an answer to that? I'm going to find another one.
You know, I had somebody I was traveling with before I came to Goa say, well, if you, because I was talking about the show and we both have a theater background, and he said it's probably not that much of a transition to come out of theater to doing that. And I mean, it is a transition if you were a behind the scenes person. If you were a director, it is a transition. Usually I make some other schmuck express my opinions in their mouth.
Right.
I usually didn't have to take responsibility this way.
Yeah.
I didn't have to take the income.
Right.
So it is a transition in that sense. But he was right in the sense that coming from that background, we understand that if it's not entertaining, what's the point? No one's going to watch it.
Right.
So what are you doing? And I think that's why we've been able to break through to the extent that we have. I mean, in this space, look, these days, many attempt to do this and don't get past 500 subscribers. I mean, they're lucky to get past 200. It's a challenging environment to build an audience in now, especially if you're not willing to do the so-and-so owns so-and-so channel, which we're not. Like you could grow your subs that way very quickly once you start to catch some momentum. We're not willing to do that kind of a show. So to do it honest, the way that we're doing it, yeah, man. I mean, the show would better be entertaining. Otherwise,
it's just like going to school, right? I mean, you can learn something at school, but who wants to go to school? School's boring.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. If you can inform and entertain, I mean, that's the sweet spot. And if you do that in a way that you're sticking to your principles and you're not just chasing subscribers, and not staying away from stories that might lose you some.
Right.
Like if you can walk that line, then you're in a good place.
Absolutely.
I mean, at least we feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of that, everybody, like this stream, subscribe to this channel, please. If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. All right, we're almost at the end of these super chats, and then we are going to do our final segment of the evening. David BBC Donald. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. First time seeing you here, I believe, in the chat, but thank you so much. There's never a day this isn't true. Democrats aren't incompetent. They're complicit every single day, not just the days we suspected. Yep, absolutely. 100%.
A lot of people made this point. Look how effective they were at whacking Bernie.
Right.
I mean, that disproves the idea that they're hapless.
Right.
You always, I heard so many people after Hillary lost in 2016, and they always say this, well, the Democrats have a messaging problem. No, they don't have a messaging problem. They have a message problem.
Right.
It's the thing itself. It's not the way it's being represented. It's the actual product. It's like you have the worst tasting tuna fish in the world, and you think if you market it differently, people are going to want to eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem is the party, not their consultants. I mean, the consultants are a problem too, but that's not the core problem.
Exactly. Bryce Smith, thanks for the $1.99. He says, thanks for defending RBN. Thanks again. Or I appreciate you two defending RBN. Thanks again. Well, that speaks to what Russell was saying about how we don't cover the drama for drama's sake. Like, we'll cover a little bit of beef when we feel we have something productive to add to it. Or in the case of Russell Brand owning John Heilemann, we use that to have a real conversation about broader themes. So when RBN had the interview with Marianne, the clickbaity thing to do would have been to cover the very end, where they had the on-air squabble, right? That was the drama. That was everybody was talking about that. People were begging us to play that night on the stream. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that because that's just shock value garbage. I'm not interested in playing a moment that they had on the air where they were arguing with each other that they might be embarrassed by or whatever. Like, I'm not interested in that. I was more interested in the beginning of that interview where Nick really pressed her in ways that I've never seen a working class person press a major politician. Yep. So like that was kind of clickbaity too in a way, but that was drama that sort of we could comment on in a way that got something else out of it. It wasn't just, oh, look at that. You know, you're right. Because who cares? Right.
Right. Like what would be edifying about calling an internal squabble on another channel? Like there was nothing, it didn't have any broader implications. That was a personal matter between them. Right. There was no reason to cover that, even except as clickbait. And that
right. And a lot of channels did. Vanguard did, Vosh did, right? A lot of channels got in a lot of cheap digs on that.
That's what their channel is.
That's what they do. But even Vosh,
that's what they live for.
Vosh has a big channel. You know, a lot of channels saw an opportunity there to gin up some cheap views and some cheap laughs and some cheap ratings. Yeah. And there was absolutely.
Right.
But,
we didn't do it. Then, you know, I mean, that's going to be reflected in the quality of your audience as well. Exactly.
All right, let's do our final segment of the evening now that you guys stopped throwing money at us and distracting us. But thank you guys. You guys are very, very generous. It really does help us out. So seriously, thank you guys so much.
Is it the shirt?
Is it the shirt? Right. Yeah, who knows?
They want me to buy a few more of these before I go home.
Yeah, right, exactly. Giving you some budget to work with there. All right. Kshama Sawant announced in January that she would be retiring from Seattle's city council at the end of her term in order to form a national labor movement called Workers Strike Back. Yesterday, Saturday, March 4th, the organization had formal launch events in Seattle, Philadelphia, the Bay Area of California, Pittsburgh, and Durham, North Carolina. Minneapolis had their launch event today on Sunday, and then there are launch events scheduled for Boston, Chicago, and Madison, Wisconsin over the next 2 weeks. Kshama herself spoke for about 20 minutes at the Seattle events where Nick Cruz from RBN also spoke. We don't have that video yet to show you guys, but I clipped here the last few minutes of Kshama's speech, which speaks to a lot of the themes that we've been talking about for the past several months here on the show. I thought this was really great and really worth listening to. So it's about 3.5 minutes. We're going to play this uninterrupted, and then we'll pick it up after. But here's Kshama Sawant at yesterday's Workers Strike Back launch event.
Bosses desperately want us to be divided. Our strength is building the maximum unity we can around a fighting program. Not unity with the bosses and their political representatives, but unity on a working class basis. Some of the carpenter union rank and file who went on that courageous strike in 2021 were two-time Trump voters. We know there is disagreement on a number of political issues, and we need.
Sorry, I said I wasn't going to cut it off. She's referring to a carpenter strike in Seattle that happened 2 years ago. That Socialist Alternative joined them on the picket line. That's what she's talking about here.
To honestly debate them.
Here, I'll back it up a little bit.
Carpenter union rank and file who went on that courageous strike in 2021 were two-time Trump voters. We know there is disagreement on a number of political issues, and we need to honestly debate them. But these workers welcome our Socialist Council Office and Socialist Alternative. We were the only force who stood with them while they were being abandoned both by their union leaders and by every single Democrat in the region. The residents of East Palestine who are being radicalized by this disaster are mostly Trump voters. Yet many of them are furious at both parties and saw Trump's bottled water delivery as an empty gesture. At the Amazon Air Hub, there are also lots of Trump voters. But we have agreement on something crucial. They damn well want a union and are prepared to fight for it. Capitalism relies on a divide and rule strategy in order for a tiny minority at the top to exploit the billions of working people on the planet. They need to divide us in every possible way and disorient us. We cannot let them. real gain. We care for working people because our lives depend on it. But at the same time, we should not have any illusions. As hard as we will need to fight to win any reform under capitalism, all the reforms added up together will not be enough. We need a fundamentally different kind of society, a socialist society based on solidarity and equality, run by and for working people, not the billionaires. The capitalist system is owned by the bosses. It is inherently unequal and oppressive, and it is completely unsustainable. But I also want to be clear that you don't need to agree with me or Socialist Alternative about socialism in order to get involved with Workers' Strike Back. Workers' Strike Back is not a socialist organization. It is a movement of working people organizing around a fighting strategy to win the things we need. We have a lot of work in front of us. Millions of working people in this country are looking to fight back and are looking for the leadership. We need to take that and all the energy we have seen this afternoon in this room and turn it towards this historic fight, solidarity.
All right, there you have it. Now, I guarantee you, folks, Workers' Strike Back is not going to have a political party organized within the next few months. They're not going to have a candidate for president in 2024, right? But I also can guarantee you...
Ever. I mean, are they even envisioning being a political party?
Well, they said they need a new party and that they may try to form one out of a labor movement, right? Just as a lot of left parties have been formed out of labor movements, right? But the point I want to make here is that the people who are deluding themselves into thinking that Marianne Williamson is going to win this David versus Goliath battle and think that they are the ones who are serious about doing something in 2024, they are going to have far less to show for their efforts come next summer than Workers' Strike Back. I guarantee you, Workers' Strike Back is going to have a very long list of accomplishments that they can be very, very proud of in a year and a half. And the Marianne Williamson campaign is going to have nothing but a reluctant endorsement to Joe Biden. Yep. That's the way this is going to work out. And so who's giving in to despair here? This is the point I want to make, because they launched this on the same day that Marianne launched her campaign, and there's been some argument about this in the online left, that the people who aren't signing up for the Marianne thing are giving up. Nick Cruz, obviously not a Marianne fan, he spoke at that event that day. We're not the ones who are despairing. We're the ones being realistic about the presidential politics of 2024 and choosing to do something different. You invest in Workers' Strike Back, they're not going to win the presidency. They're not going to overturn the system in a year. But I guarantee you, they are going to have a lot to be proud of in a very short period of time, because Kshama is not just a fighter. She's a winner. She's a proven winner. Renters' rights, Amazon tax. She won the $15 minimum wage before the Bernie campaign was even a thing. She won that in 2013 into 2014. It wasn't even a pipe dream. Bernie hadn't even platformed that nationally yet, and she won it. So they're on to something there. Is it going to shock the world? We don't know. But you know what? The best you can hope for at this point is to lock arms with real fighters and real winners like Kshama and everyone there and do the best you can. Throw as much as you can at it. Fight as hard as you can. And you know going in, Kshama Sawant is going to fight tooth and nail every single day and never let up and never sell out. And so she's got my money.
Well, that's it. And we've gotten in the video we did covering her speech, you've got some people in the comments section asking what we support and what we believe in. And
well, there you have it. I just showed it. We just showed it to you.
Yeah, I don't even understand why you'd ask the question, because you can go into our interviews. You can see who we've talked to. I mean, from the beginning, we've been talking to people like Chris Smalls. When the railroad workers had an action at Grand Central, we got their contacts and put them on the show. So that's where we are. We no longer believe that you can reform the Democratic Party from the inside. That if what you really care about is policy, even if you feel that, well, but you have to enact the policy through politics, well, the best way you're going to do that would be by scaring the piss out of them with an outside movement. In fact, that's the only chance, because once you're inside, they own you. That's what the squad has proved to us now. They're much more scared of you when they don't hold anything over you. As soon as you're on the inside like that, they've got you by the balls. They got you that now Nancy is not the person whose office you're protesting in. Now she's Mama Bear when you go on The View, right? Now you have to win the kind of people who vote in Democratic primaries over. You got to win over the kind of people who actually run that party, right? So really, if you want people who are going to stick to their guns, who are really going to fight for policy, which is really what it comes down to. And honestly, I don't give a shit if Republicans enact a policy that I'm fighting for or Democrats enact the policy. I don't care about that. So as soon as you start getting into I'm a Democrat, you're closing off another avenue, right? I mean with the fact that the people who can benefit most from policies that benefit the working class are now in the Republican Party, well, it's only a short step from there to say, hey, you know what? Being part of an organization that supports those working people and marches with those working people, well, if you want to inject working class politics into American politics, you need to go to those people. And those people, I wrote that article about this a while ago, and it's becoming less and less of a joke than it was when I wrote it. Right. Well, I wrote a whole article a few years ago about how maybe we'd be better off trying to take over the Republican Party than the Democratic Party. Well, look, the people in the Democratic Party don't really have an investment in unions, in labor issues. They're not labor. They might become labor. Right. This is something, if I hadn't been in India, we would have covered this already. The way that these people who are getting fired from these tech companies are getting covered by the media, who never expressed this level of sympathy and outrage for people who got laid off from a factory, tells you everything you need to know about that class. They don't care about our interests. Their organ of expressing their elite class perspective is the Democratic Party, and it has no real place for you as a worker with working class concerns in politics. The best you're going to do is pressure them from the outside. So what Sawant is doing here is giving us an opportunity to build an outside labor movement. And to me, it doesn't really matter if it becomes a political party. Maybe it's better if it doesn't. Right. Maybe it's better if it's just an organization that can call 1 million workers to march on Washington. Maybe that it's better that it just stays that, because then you never have to sit there and play nice with the ladies on The View.
Exactly. Or to organize strikes, right? Or, whatever. Right. There's a ton of things you can do.
Maybe it can build into something that can create a yellow vest movement.
Exactly.
That's what we need. More. We need that a lot more than we need a power crystal wielding half-ass prosperity gospel guru to say to tell Joe Biden he sucks, and not even directly, but in a roundabout kind of way. She doesn't upset anyone on the cocktail circuit.
Exactly. And what Kshama said there was just really powerful about how, she makes no apologies about being a Marxist. She's a socialist, but she says, you don't have to be a socialist to join us. And she said, we were the only political organization that joined those carpenters when they were on strike. And I remember talking about that with her campaign manager. We interviewed Brian Coloris, who was Kshama's campaign manager in 2018. And then he was working on the campaign beating back the recall, which she beat back by only a few hundred votes. It was a very, very tight race. But he talked about the experience they had picketing with those guys, a lot of whom were Trump voters. And they told them when they got there, I remember he says, we told them we're not going to tolerate any of this immigrant bashing bullshit on the line. You start talking any of that shit, we're out. And guess what? They didn't talk any of that shit because they were grateful to have them there, right? So you wield power by showing up for people. People want allies, right? People ultimately put their interests above any ideology. So you really want to make inroads with people, show up for them. Don't write them off and say, these are bigots, I'm not picketing. Show up and say, listen, you start any of that shit, we're gone. And you don't want us gone. You need us here. That's how you do it. That's what I mean. These guys, Kshama and her team have real killer instincts. They are pros. They are competent. It ain't easy to beat back a recall funded by the Democratic Party machinery and Amazon, right? I mean, it ain't easy to beat these people, and she does time after time.
Winner.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what you need. You need winners because, frankly, this movement has too many losers. It has too many losers. It has too many navel-gazing, self-hate neurotics.
Right. Yeah.
And that is not how I read her. And frankly, it's probably not surprising that a country that has statues of Gandhi everywhere would produce an uncompromising figure like that.
Yeah, she was born in India.
It is the one thing as far as I can see that everyone in this country agrees on. Gandhi is worshipped here. He's you go to these small towns, there's a statue of him in the center of town. Right? Everywhere there are statues of Gandhi. And hey, that sets an example. That sets an example. Because he's bigger than a historical figure here. He's a moral ideal. And so Sawant comes from a country where that's the moral ideal that was held before her. This ideal that people, when they join together, can overthrow the powerful, can overthrow an empire. And they don't have to do it with fists and rocks, that they can do it with the power of their ideas and their collective action.
Absolutely. On that note, we will read our last two super chats and wrap up as look how beautiful behind Russell's shoulder. The sun is coming up in India. You see that behind you? They're getting some sunlight in the room. Beautiful. All right. Tusker, thanks for the $2. Dance puppets. Is that a suggestion for the show that we add dance puppets to the show? Yeah, maybe we can. Sorry, that was a while back. Thank you, Tusker. Jeff Spicoli, 2024. Relax. I can fix it.
I'm so wasted.
My old man has a totally awesome set of tools. I can fix it.
I can fix it. Yeah, that was a great movie. Okay, we got a couple more donations here, and then we gotta let Russell go enjoy his last day in India. He's cutting into his last day of vacation time. The sun is coming up on the beach. He's got to get that Hawaiian shirt. He's got to get out there. UK leak. Top government official scientists knew. Yeah, you are determined to get us thrown off the air, aren't you, Zach? Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah,
I mean, there has been a study.
There has been a study about it.
Coverage that masks were useless.
We'll see when we're allowed to say that. But thank you for the $2. I put it up on there. Robert, thanks for the $2. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Robert.
All righty. Is that everything? Is that our show for the day?
I believe it is, man. The water here is like bath water.
Yep,
Nice
it's calling his name. The beach calls Russell's name. This is Russell's last show from India. He's back in New York City on Thursday. So everybody tune in on Thursday. We will have Russell back. We might have some guest appearances on Thursday lined up. We got some things in the works, some things we're trying to make happen. But please, once again, like this stream and subscribe to this channel on the way out. If you can sign up at patreon.com/DueDissidence, it really helps us out. It helps us do as many of these shows as possible. It helped us pay for Russell's travel laptop, which he took to India with him, which I believe I still haven't reimbursed you out of the company funds for that. So let me know how much it was. Actually, technically, it hasn't paid for Russell's laptop yet. we still owe him. The DueDissidence fund still owes him for his travel laptop. But these are the kinds of things that we can make happen when we get people signed up. So it really does help us out tremendously.
Just so you know, we're not spending your money frivolously. We literally got a refurbished Chromebook for $94.
Yeah, for $94 that he could take. Yeah. You must keep going. Oh, she's saying dance puppets, meaning us. We're the puppets. She wants us to dance for her. That's it. I get it now.
I got it. I'm the only one who danced.
You're the only one who did it, right? Yeah, you're the only one who's cooperating. Valika's text different than Cochran's study. All right, thank you, Zach. I appreciate you. I don't know what you're referring to. Oh, that's the other thing that we are going to add, though.
Cochrane is the guy who invented the warp drive in Star Trek. He's,
there you go. All right. Well, that's the other thing that we are going to try and do. We are going to try and add some free speech exclusive streams. Maybe do like 1 or 2 a month, just on the platforms where we're allowed to say what we want to say. Like, that would be fun, and that'd be a way to get some of you guys over to support some of those smaller platforms. You know what I mean? So Substack, Rockfin,
and that's
Rumble,
also
like
they won't let you sell Nazi memorabilia here. So
yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Russell's going to be on a very ill-fated mission to bring back certain iconography that we can't even really mention.
I want to reclaim it. For
yeah.
Listen. I'm just going to tell a quick India story, and I actually have this on film, so it'll be part of my India travel log video essay. So very early on in the trip, I was really driving the people I was traveling with crazy because I'm such an addict to making people uncomfortable. And so, I stood right in front of one of these swastikas in front of a house, and I filmed myself saying, "See, the Ukrainians aren't Nazis, they're mystics." And the whole group shit themselves.
Oh, that was in front of people? I didn't know people.
Oh, yeah, no. The tour group was standing right next to me. And I said that. They were like, what? What did you just say?
Robert says we missed 2 super chats. I didn't know you did that in front of them. Which super chats do we miss, Robert? Do we miss any of yours? If we missed any of yours, let us know. I thought we got it. Explain black holes for at least 20 minutes. It's going to cost you more than $2, Tusker, if you want us to explain black holes for 20 minutes. But thank you. Travel safe. Robert said we missed. We missed. Cortex gave us a super sticker. Thank you very much. Oh, yep. I see it right here. Yes, we understand. Thank you. Yes, well, we talked about that. We talked about that before. We used to talk freely about this stuff back on Facebook. It didn't become... Oh, here, I see you. I got you, Robert. It didn't... and I got you again. Thank you for the super sticker. Man, we took our eye off the ball here for a little bit. Okay, now we're caught up. Okay, now we got everything. I don't know when it became... I don't know when it became. I don't know when things got really censorious about that stuff. Like when it wasn't totally at the beginning, because we used to talk about that shit all the time at the beginning in the early days, under the assumption we could. It was like sometime. I guess it was when the shots came out, right? Like when those started becoming available, and there started becoming people arguing about that. I think that's when it started.
It was from early on, man, because I like, in terms of subjects being verboten and it becoming all culture war. Listen, I very early on, when Sweden, I think it was Sweden that was experimenting with basically what DeSantis ended up doing in Florida, like put the restrictions on the vulnerable, the immunocompromised, the elderly, and let other people go about their business. I posted on my page, I was like, listen, man, I mean, I don't know that this is the right way to go, but I don't know that it isn't.
Right.
This doesn't sound crazy to me to do it this way. Oh my God, the shit I got from the libs for even suggesting that maybe we don't know everything about how we should handle this unprecedented situation. Oh my God.
See how good he is? Man. See how good? See, this is what it takes to do a show nowadays. You have to be able to talk like that without using buzzwords. See how you got everything Russell was saying without having to trigger anything. Very well done. In 2 minutes, black holes. I'll give you 10 seconds worth of black hole coverage. What is it? It's a matter vacuum in outer space. There's the event horizon, which is the line past the point no return. You get sucked past that. You get lost in some other dimension. So there. That's my explanation. That's my lesson.
One can only hope.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All righty, everybody. Thank you so much. We're going to let Russell get on with his day, enjoy his last day of vacation. You guys are a wonderful crowd, and you are very generous with the donations. Thank you so much. You help keep us going with that stuff. We appreciate it very much. We will be back here live Thursday night. That is 1, 2, 3. What was that? The 8th, something like that, or the 9th, I believe. Back here on all of our platforms. So, Russell, safe travels. This is a successful trip
Thank
to
you.
India, and yeah, best of luck making it back. Robert Penner, sun never sets on the dissident empire. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
All righty, yeah, you had that. You gave that one to us twice there. Thank you, appreciate you. All righty, everybody. Well, that is our show for the evening. We want to thank you guys all so much once again. Safe travels to Russell. Enjoy your last day on the beach. And we will see you guys back here on Thursday. Hit that like button and subscribe button on the way out. Be safe. Be well. Russell, a final namaste, perhaps?
For the last time, for the foreseeable future, namaste.
Please clap.